But Andy Hamilton, you've been a comedian for how long?
Let's see. I started in, I guess, about 6 years, 6.5 years going on. So, yeah, because I started like late 2014. So,
And you've really mastered the hosting position. You know that?
I don't know about I don't know about mastered.
What about Andy
but
Hamilton? I was like, "Hey, man."
I think yeah, I've been hosting long enough, and I'm starting to feature more. I'm really trying to start and get into more feature spots. And luckily I got a few of those coming up. But yeah, I mean, I feel really comfortable with the hosting position. I think I've just, like anything else, you just do it so many times that
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel comfortable going up there and going through the.
You're very likable too.
Oh, you think so?
You're like
Thanks,
you and
man.
John Maddie, like
John Maddie's really likable.
two likable guys in the scene. Right
and he's got he's a good host too because he just goes up there with so much energy and people respond to that. So, and I try to go up there with energy without being like too fake or over the top energy, if that makes sense.
Like with the show we just did at the back door that you hosted, it was like you just kept things rolling. It was a big list, so it was kind of hard to go up there.
Yeah,
and
a
lot of comedians don't realize it. Like my first time hosting, I was trying to like joke off of each comedian kind of try to do something in between, and it just doesn't work that way. Like you just keep it going.
Yeah,
especially with 18 on a list.
I think it depends because my brother and our buddy was at the show. Unbeknownst to me, I saw him after the show. I'm like, when the fuck did you guys get here? And then he was like, yeah, that's pretty good. He goes, you should have done more stuff in between the comics. And I go, man, normally I would, and that's the fun part of hosting an open mic. But I go, man, we had like 18 comics, so that's why I just told him, what you just mentioned, like, hey, I just kind of tried to keep it rolling. And I had some lines in my head, but like, who was it? Oh, like I was telling him David O'Donnell had a pretty good set.
He did. He had a great set.
I was about to call him out on the Cavalier stuff because I was like, dude, you look like you drive a Cavalier.
Right? With a bunch of stickers on the back of it.
Which would have been funny. But and I told him this after his set. I was like, man, I was about to throw a line after your set, but I go, man, you got off on such a good note. I just wanted to keep the momentum going. Because he had another joke about, what was like, people named Crystal or something. And that got a big pop. Mm-hmm. And so he just had, so I didn't really feel the need to say anything, although I could have. But no, yeah, stuff like when there's 18, 20 comics, I was like, man, I just want to keep it rolling because I know when I'm not hosting and I'm sitting in the back waiting my turn, like I hate it when people, it's okay to put a line in there, but then other MCs will try to do like 30 seconds to a minute in between every other comic. I'm like, dude, just come on, just keep it rolling.
It's like, I know I get it when it's for like Mary Jane had a room at the scoreboard for a little while, and she would do a lot of time in between, but she built up so much. You see her now going, and you can see, and it was her little mic thing that she put together at one of her friends' bar, and it was like, I get it. I get what it's for now because you've seen how much, because she was getting 2-3 minutes in between each comic.
Oh, really?
But she was working shit out. It's not like she was just bullshit. And then, because I did a show with her before the scoreboard opened up, and before she put that all together. And then, like now, to see how much she's grown just from getting that little bit of stage time. Just like Mike Ratcliffe, he went and did TK Kirkland at the Helium for a whole weekend and got a bunch of shows in. And like the next day, we went to an open mic together, and I was like, holy shit, dude. You just see it, like the progression, and just that little bit of extra stage time that you're not getting each week. But Mike Ratcliffe's one that's, I think, has to keep at it, because I've noticed sometimes he'll, if he doesn't keep doing it, he gets uncomfortable and nervous with himself. But once he gets this laugh, he gets into it, and he can work on the crowd. Right. And I think he's one of the funniest fuckers when he goes up there. And
I've seen him have some really good sets, and then to be honest, I haven't seen probably a whole lot of him, especially in the past year. But I'm trying to think where I saw him. It might have been the Ophir Palace or something, but. Yeah, he's capable of having really killer sets. So
yeah, the Ophir is a tough one.
Yeah, I enjoy going there. I can't think of too many times I've actually done well there, but as comics, it's just we're trying to find a place to go.
It's a tough room, but I've noticed that too. There's different rooms, audiences, and that's one of those ones that they want something a little different. Like Gary Becker when he had that arena bar, and it was just a bunch of really drunk locals
Yeah.
from South County.
much.
It was like they just want offensive one-liners, and I can do that. And so I figured that one out real quick. I was like, I got them. They can't keep an attention on a story.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
funny.
they're too drunk, so just boom, 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 boom. And I could keep their attention that way by switching shit up. But
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the bar stuff, not all, but a lot of them, you figure out like, oh, they like the offensive, dirty comedy, and then maybe for someone like me, it's a little tougher, like in a bar, like arena bar or wherever.
Yeah,
and then
I could see
versus
that.
me going to like.
But if you got jokes and they're funny, that's one thing.
Yeah, the
that
bottom
about
line
it.
is funny.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But seeing some comedians go, like I've watched a couple of guys that usually I only see at like the back door, and I mean not the back door, but the Funny Bone. They usually predominantly just stay there.
Yeah.
And they only perform there, and they come out to a different room like that, and it's like the funny ones you see start to, it's like and then they're funny. They have jokes, so they're able to adjust it real quick, but then you see some that are like. It's the first bomb they've had in a while. It's like, that same old routine's not going to work here. And then you see some comedians, I've noticed that some comedians that they don't get the best of laughs at the Funny Bone, they go to those places and fucking crush it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just kill it. And there's a couple, like, I watched Lauren Peterson do the exact same set at the Funny Bone or the back door and then do it at the Word Up open mic. And I don't know if it was just her timing or something, but it was just fucking crushed it. At the Word Up, it was just perfect the way she did it but she didn't get no laughs at the back door. It's like, those were funny jokes. Why aren't they laughing at it?
And yeah, sometimes it is just the crowd. I mean,
Yeah.
just what they're looking for. So you can't always, blame the crowd, so to speak. But,
No.
yeah, sometimes it happens. You do set one night, and next night you do the same thing. It's just like a totally different thing.
Yeah.
I've been there too. So, but yeah, it's you definitely got to go to different rooms and get the different experiences and figure out what works. Try to get those jokes that work universally. I think is the goal for everybody.
Yeah, that's what me and Marquise Moore and Jason Nelson yesterday were talking about. I was like, you two are pretty universal. I was like, you got comedians that you guys roll with that don't perform outside of their bar clubs, and they do that crowd. So you guys can make either side laugh because we got into the whole racial, how it's a difference.
I saw you had him on yesterday.
Yeah, it was because it's a real thing. There is a division there, and there is a comedy line there, and some people can go jump in between two. Who's the guy? Gary Owens, real big into the black community. Everyone knows Gary Owens, and he can perform at Def Comedy Jam and the Apollo and stuff like that. And really win that crowd over, but then you get some that I don't see Jerry Seinfeld performing at the Apollo and doing too well.
I never thought about that,
It's just. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld's a legend. Where he performs, you put him in in a crowd that doesn't want that old school type of style, and but like Marquise Moore, he and Jason, they both just. It doesn't matter where you put them; they're funny.
Yeah, I kind of see them everywhere, or I've seen them everywhere in my, over the past few years. So
yeah, he took off fucking 3 or 4 months, Marquise, and came back at a competition and beat me by 3 points. I was like, that just makes me feel even worse.
Helium competition or something?
No, the Word Up has one for $100 every last month of the Tuesday.
Okay.
I mean, last Tuesday of the month, and he came back. And it was like he never stopped. Just came in there and killed it. Almost got a perfect score. It was like, God damn.
He's been around. I don't know exactly how long he's been doing comedy.
2008.
Oh, okay. I was going to guess 10 years, but closer to 12, 13.
Yeah, they've been doing. I didn't even realize it was that long because I guess I didn't pay attention or see them when I first really got into it. When John started, I was paying attention to a lot of the comedians, and he's been in it now, I think going on 8.
You're what, like a year and a half in?
Yeah. But I really started going to a lot of the mics back when John first started. There for like a year or so, I followed him, and I always liked comedy. So I'd always like try to tell him about comedy, and it's like, you don't even do comedy. Don't try to tell me about comedy. But then
dude, my brother does that. He's like, oh man, I got a joke you could try, and then he'll give me like half the joke. I'm like, okay, what else?
Is it a joke or just a premise?
I figured you could write something. I was like, well, that's your thought, man. That's not it's not coming from my brain, so I can't really take your what's in your brain and
Yeah.
put it in a joke in mine.
I just
I have to
started-
write about what I want to write about.
Yeah.
So.
I just watched. I've been watching the show, The Amazing Mrs Maisel. Have you seen that yet?
No, I've heard of it.
Yeah. It kind of shows that. It shows a wife telling this comedian that's going to open mic. She's like, and his sweater's got holes in it, and he's complaining about it because a moth was in there. And she's like, just talk about your sweater, talk about it. You make a joke. And he goes up there and just mentions it, and no one laughs. And then he's all mad because he bombs. He's like, you told me to talk about the sweater. She's like, I thought you'd make it in a joke form.
Well, that's the other thing too. It's like you really, I don't think there's anything, if you're smart enough and you sit there and try to write something, you can write about anything. I mean, you can write about, going to a bar, you can write about going to church, you can write about going
I got a
to
challenge
work.
for you.
Okay.
Write a solid knock-knock joke.
Okay.
Yeah, just a knock
that's a real
knock joke.
challenge? Where'd that come from?
I forget who I heard it from, but it was like some YouTube video or something. And they're like, you want to know it's hard for even as the toughest comedian. It was like Louis C.K. or Bill Burr or something. It's like, try to write a fucking knock knock joke today. It's like, that's good. That's actually good.
Are you saying write one that crushes?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like write a solid knock knock joke. I was like, man, that is.
Then I could take on your challenge, but I'd be so embarrassed to tell it on stage. Like, hey guys, knock knock. They're like, is this guy working here professionally?
Is he really doing knock knock jokes here? What is this, Broadville? Yeah, no. Somebody said that, and they're like, if you can write a good knock knock joke, you can write about anything. And I was like, but then I tried to write a knock knock joke that was good. It was like the only thing I came up with was just like a tag to my Jehovah's Witness joke. Like, when they say who's there, I'm like, shh, it's the Jehovah's Witness.
I was gonna say, don't you have a knock?
Yeah, but it's not like a legit knock knock joke. But that's a hard one to write a good one.
Yeah, I remember I don't think you were doing comedy yet. There was this place called the Laugh Lounge in North County.
I went there twice thinking that because they was still on the list when they
yeah.
for open mics. I'd go there. I was like, they're like, oh, that's not here no more.
Yeah, it's probably been closed like a year and a half, but it was a really cool place. I heard rumors that they were gonna reopen it, but nothing. Well, then COVID hit, so that probably any plans that they did have, if they had any, were probably dashed. But no, Jesse Taylor, I remember, he had a bunch of comics sitting around, and it was probably like an open mic or something, and he just kind of said something along the same lines, like, it's like there's so much stuff in your everyday life that you can write about, just the things that you don't think about, like just, putting gas in your car, or you're at the supermarket, or just stuff that happens to you that you can dive into. So I guess what he was basically trying to say is just take everything that you do in life, and there's some kind of funny there that you can, what's the word?
Find the funny out of every
find
situation.
the funny. You kind of extract the funny out of a lot of situations. So I think that's a big challenge, because your day-to-day routine, like say you go to your job and then you go, like I said, go out to eat or something, or maybe you're just, chilling at home, listening to music. You don't really, there's probably a lot of things that you don't even think remotely about writing about. So
that's one that I'm learning more and more, especially because I noticed the comedians, especially the ones that started around me, or the new ones that I'm seeing start now, we have our main subjects that a lot of us stick to try to write jokes about that are just typical hacky.
Yeah.
It's like I know I started, my first set was with an abortion joke that pissed a couple people off. I polished that. Abortion jokes, I've learned you've got to have them polished. Like, it's got to be good if you're going to say it, because it's hard to polish those up without pissing a bunch of people off.
Yeah, man, you get into like abortion, rape, and all that stuff.
Yeah, rape's one I just don't touch because it's sticky.
There's a few others that I just wouldn't recommend.
Clean. I keep saying that. I believe, like, one of the little videos I've seen is Ralphie May talking about learn to write clean first. The dirty shit, you can turn anything clean into dirty, but if you're a dirty writer, it's a lot harder to write clean.
Yeah, and I was kind of, I think when I started, I was around the right people for advice, and the first advice I got really was try to write like a clean 5-minute, like they call it a Tonight Show set. You'll hear a lot of people. So I never even started. When I started, I never really wrote dirty. I would always just write stuff clean. And from day one till now, I barely curse in my sets and stuff. So, Yeah, it's a little tougher to do, but
It's also the levels of clean that me and Joe the Animal were talking
sure.
about that, like, because he's like, I have a clean set, but if I'm doing a show at a AA convention, it's like that's half my material. It's clean, but it talks about alcoholism. I'm not cussing or anything in it, and it's not bad. But I was like, yeah, that's true. What is the difference in a clean set for a group of adults on the Tonight Show or kids at a party, or there's going to be kids present? I was like, it's two different sets that you gotta have.
And I've had to do just a couple sets with like clean sets where there was kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't realize.
You want a soda or a beer?
Oh man, I'm good with the Quick Trip. Shout out to Quick Trip on the podcast.
That's Will's spot, man.
Drinking the black mango tea. Almost forgot what I was talking about. Oh, yeah, I had to do. I had to like follow this, or I had to open for a magician like a couple times, and it was like an all ages type show.
Wow, that's gonna be a great fucking experience. Just to, you know,
I mean, it was cool, but he's like, "Yeah, do you have like a clean 10?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got a clean 10." And then he's like, I'm like, "Hey, can I do this joke?" He's like, "No, that's too dirty." I was like, "What about this one?" He's like, "No, you can't do that," because he kind of knew my material already. And then when you break it all down, really, I just had like 5 minutes of stuff I could do in front of kids. That
That's what I was saying to Joe the Animal and stuff. It's actually a video, a little short clip I got on YouTube, and it got a lot of views. It got like 2,000 views or whatever. Where I was asking him, "What is the levels? Where's the? We need a color code or something."
I don't even really know as far as levels. I don't know. I mean, there's shows where it's like, I feel like the all ages shows. They say it's all ages, but it's really like, nobody's gonna bring their 7-year-old to the show. Generally speaking,
teenagers.
It's usually like 12 and up, and then there's like.
Have you ever performed with or for Jeremy Nunez? Because I was looking up different comics for a show I was going to book.
Funny you mentioned that. I'm opening for him in a couple weeks.
See, I knew you'd be a perfect comic to open for him because he's like considered one of the Midwest's best top clean. He's like the top clean comic in the Midwest to book. So.
I didn't. Well, I know.
Every booking site that I went to for comedy, for comedians, he was the top clean comedian to book.
Well, I know he works with David Graham a lot. David Graham is maybe our scene isn't that familiar with him, but he's known as like, he basically advertises himself as the cleanest comic in the country. So I know they
David Graham, huh?
I know they work together a lot. He's. I think he's been doing comedy. He's been doing comedy forever too, maybe like 20 or 25 years. But so I guess I'm a good fit then hopefully for him. But I started following him on Instagram. I haven't gotten a chance to look up his material. It might have been Kavanaugh that was telling me about Jeremy Nunez. Oh yeah, he's great. And,
he's supposedly really good, and he's solid, like clean, and he's expensive.
Oh, is he? Well, yeah. I'm opening for him and Johnny Kavanaugh at Backdoor Comedy. April 9th and 10th.
Yeah,
so
nice.
So man, I'm looking forward to that because it's been a while, obviously, since.
How much time are you doing?
I guess just 10 minutes.
Just 10.
I'm assuming.
I think that's what,
just as an MC. But
yeah, I've just gotten together finally. I think a good 10, 15 of solid material for like a dirty set. But I've been putting together. The way I've been building my clean is I have clean jokes. Some of them I just have to change some language in. Some of them maybe just something in there I can change. And I've got a solid like 4 or 5 of clean. And because Rob came on here and kind of talked a lot about working clean. And, and I mean, it is where the money's at. I mean, in all honesty.
Well, that's why like I wouldn't say I book a ton of stuff, but a lot of stuff I book, like Rob Durham's the first person I think of, just because he works clean and he has a solid 45, 50 minutes. I'm sure you could probably do an hour if you wanted to. But
yeah, I think so.
But it's easy for me, like we did a birthday party back in December, and
he was telling me about that.
Oh, okay. And he might have already mentioned this on the podcast, but there was like kids up front and stuff. I could tell he was kind of holding back. He's clean, but we were talking about the different levels of clean. But he was up there. He's like, "Oh, I can't do that one. Oh no, I'm not going to do that one." And then to me, I was in the back. And I was my mentality was like, dude, just let it fly because it's not. We told him like this is a birthday party. It's like they brought their kids. That's their problem. But it's probably the wrong way to look at it. But I didn't hold back when I opened with like 15 minutes, and then I was just like, hey, just have you do like 45, and then we'll just that'll be an hour show, because that's kind of what they were wanting.
Yeah.
And but I could tell, it was funny. I could tell he was holding back. But when I booked that show, the lady was like, "Oh yeah, there'll be like a few teenagers." Like, I'm like, "Okay, well, how?" And I based the price on that too. Like, well, the cleaner you want the show, the more money.
Yeah.
If you want a dirty show, that's easy. I can book anybody.
Yeah. So you actually get a lot of people to come to you to help book shows for them.
I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, just here and there. This one.
Have you tried to exploit that yet and capitalize on it and really push it?
I'm gonna make some business cards here very shortly.
Business cards and social media. It's a dream what they can do. Like, I've had people hit me up on here just through Facebook and the podcast asking about people for a show or a guest, and how to get to them. I was like, just go to their social media. It's pretty easy nowadays. If they have a booker or a manager, they'll tell you to contact this person. But I wasn't in a position to where I'm even close to being set up to do all that. But if you do it, LLC yourself. That's something I was just talking to Jason about. I was like, man, there's so many tax write-offs.
LLC.
Yeah, he's like, well, yeah, his brother showed him that, told him that, lives out in Kansas City. Kept telling him, like, because he's a contractor. He's like, just LLC yourself, man. You can write off a lot. I was like, hell yeah, you can. All your lunches are written off right now because they passed the 3 martini tax break rule. And they're like, what's that? I was like, basically, you used to be able to write off 50% of your business lunches that were with business. I was like, so you and another comedian could take a lunch and 50% could have been written off. Well, since COVID and before Trump went out, he passed 100% to help stimulate the restaurants or whatever. Okay. So now you can write 100% of your lunches off. You got to pay for them up front, but at the end of the year, you can get them on the back end.
Yeah. I was going to say, too, for me, like, I started doing, obviously with COVID, I've done like one show in the past year at Rendezvous Cafe, but before that we were doing it like just about every other month, and which is fun. But I just have people come up to me after that and be like, oh, so you, because I set up my sound equipment and stuff like that, and like, oh, so where else do you, so you book this, like, do you do private stuff? I'm like, yeah, I can. And then
so you got a PA and everything, huh?
Yeah.
So that's your setup.
You got a couple microphones, speakers, mic stand, all the whole 9 yards. And then, but yeah, just people kind of just started approaching me, and then I've done like some Elks Lodges and stuff like that.
I keep hearing about these Elks Lodges. Yeah, Rob was telling me about them. He's like, yeah, there's some good shows out there.
Yeah, because I've booked Rob on a couple. I booked him out in St. Charles. Yeah, it was like last February, so it was like right before COVID.
Are these Elks Lodges that have like butlers in them?
Because not that kind of lodge. But.
Yeah, my wife's best friend growing up got married to an O'Shaughnessy. And it's a big name, I guess, out here for money. They'd have like a financial advisor firm or something. They work with Anheuser. They did like, when I first looked them up, it was like multi-million-dollar deal that they worked out for Anheuser on this and that, and it's like, okay, well, they took us to one of those country clubs out there, and like I had a butler lighting my cigarette. I walked out into the smokers lounge where everyone's got cigars, and he like lit my cigarette for me. I ordered,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the drink I ordered, I was like, how much is it? I was like, give me something that's similar to like Jameson and 7-Up or Sprite or ginger ale is what I like, is Jameson and ginger ale with the lime.
That's good stuff.
And he poured it from a bottle that was just like a house bottle, like it's real fancy.
I know, you're talking about like in a big glass kind of container.
And poured it. I was like, how much is that drink if I was to order that at a bar? He's like, well, there's no bar in St. Louis that has this. I was like, oh shit. I fucking just held on to it and sipped it.
I haven't booked any of those Elks Lodges, but sounds intriguing.
I had to go buy a suit there for every one of those events, which I like dressing up, but not for people I don't. They eventually kicked me out of the wedding because I was going to be sitting at the main stage, and they figured a way out. They ran a background check on me.
Wait, why'd they kick you out of the wedding?
Because they didn't feel safe because of my background. Because when I was a kid, I got arrested for some drugs.
Oh.
Yeah, and they were like, we don't feel safe with him at our
I've
wedding.
never heard of somebody getting kicked
That's
out
how
of a
fancy.
wedding.
Well, it was really more or less they didn't want this long dread-headed hippie sitting at the main table with all these fancy
Everybody
people.
else probably looks like me. Clean
Yes.
cut.
Yes. Well, so they were like, okay. So my wife took our other best friend, which is a doctor. Now he just moved from Seattle to here at WashU. He's like neurophysicist or something, but has real long hair like me, tattoos all up and down.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, let him try to talk shit on him. I was like, let him, because last time I was at his house, I was at his desk and he had like a report card and it's like 104% molecular biological something. I was like, how the fuck do you get 104% in something I can't even pronounce, dude? And he was real smart, and I tried to get him on here, but he's real busy right now with the whole COVID.
Yeah, because you've had mostly comics on your, or like 100% comics on your.
Yeah, so comics and business owners like Mike Tobin, and I had my brother-in-law, which owns an electrical company. I want to get more into that, but I had like Louis Confliction, which is a poet.
Yeah, I met him once at Shade, I think it was.
Yeah, dude is super. He's like too cool for schools. You meet some of these guys and it's like, God damn, you're too cool for me, man. And he's such a nice guy, like always offering up his time at like food shelters and doing all kinds of crazy just around his community. And it's really it's inspirational in a way to see somebody that he doesn't have to be doing that. He could probably be capitalizing off of a lot of the stuff, and a lot of it's just free. And
I didn't know that, but I know. I guess he still goes up to Shade on the Monday mics.
Is there one at Shade at Monday? I keep hearing about it. I'm
pretty sure they're still doing it. I mean, they were closed. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with. You gotta go to the STL comedy site, but
have they kept up with it lately?
Yeah, Molly Ambergy handles a lot of that, so she keeps up. She does a good job.
She does a great job with her show. I like watch that one a lot, just to be like, it's like my competition in a way. It's like I'm not going to get to that level of quality for a while.
She has some good. I've been on her podcast twice, so that was cool.
She's got the quality. She has a studio, doesn't she?
Yeah. Did she
have a team of guys that help her as far as engineers with editing?
I forgot what the. Yeah, I don't think she has a team. I don't know. You have to ask
Not like
her
a team, but just a group of probably a guy or two that knows really into the editing.
She shares the studio with We Are Live, if you're familiar with them.
I think Mike Radcliffe did some sketch stuff with her.
But I don't know the extent. I think she just has one person with her that kind of handles the sound and stuff. But I think she does the editing and a lot of the other stuff.
Really?
So
it's tight. Her stuff, like I watched it sometimes. I was like, man, that's really good. Because mine, for one, I go. She has a long form podcast too, and some of these run 2-3 hours, and it's like I gotta watch that whole thing. Sometimes I'm looking at the clock like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to be here for another 3 hours to edit it. So. That and the camera, I bought some nicer cameras, and they came in, and they were not nicer. And I was talking to the guy at the tech shop, and I was like, I just left the store with a new phone because I broke my other one. He's like, you got the brand new iPhone. Like, those specs are better than either of these cameras you're looking at. Yeah, he's like, you're not moving around. You're just setting it still, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you're gonna spend thousands on a camera that's gonna do the same thing as that. I was like, well, I'll just stick with this for a little while. I was like, but still, I want to get 2 cameras. I want to have one to where it be on you, one on me, and I've gotten gonna order the Black Magic switcher that they have to where while I'm talking, I can have it pointed at the one camera that's at me, and then while you're talking, kind of like Jamie does for Joe. Yeah, that's what I mean. Molly's got that shit. Like she's got that. She's got nice quality stuff, and other people that really don't. I guess someone that doesn't do this, once you start doing it for a while, you start seeing the differences. Like I watched Joe Rogan's. Charlemagne's. I really like Schultz's and Lex Friedman. Do you know?
He had Charlemagne on there?
No. He's just got a pot. Charlemagne and
Andrew
Schultz is brilliant idiots. But no, that and Lex Friedman. Do you know who Lex Friedman is? No. He's like this guy from MIT. Okay. I'm a real big geek, believe it or not.
I actually like. See, I'm not nerdy, but I like listening to when he has smart people on his podcast. I like
he has
listening
like
to different perspectives and
yeah, he has this guy Lex Friedman on like 4 or 5 times now. He always wears a suit, a black and white tuxedo suit,
does he?
basically, and he's from MIT. But he has like all the guys from MIT, all the professors and stuff, come on and talk about this cutting edge in science. And he had one guy on that's created a machine that can take, I think it's any newer vehicle and make it autonomous now, drive itself. Completely passed up Elon Musk's shit. Like,
wow.
Yeah, he can take any car and put it on the car and make it autonomous and drive itself.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd trust shit like that. Like I gotta have control of my vehicle, but
Yeah, I could see it, but
I got a 2000 Honda Civic, man. Kind of struggling up your driveway.
I know. My Spark makes it. Your Civic. I think my Spark's got a lawnmower engine in it. It's like a 1.4. I used to have a Civic though.
They're good cars, man.
Yeah, they are. We had the Honda. I think it was a Civic, but the 4-door. It was like looked like the Accord one, and we sold that to my buddy Cody, and he still has it. Like still driving it.
Planning on keeping mine. I'm always like, oh man, sometimes like I want something a little sporty or newer, like a
Dead.
something a little with some style. And,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, this car is so good. Like I just want to hang on to it. And
That's why I bought my little one. 6-year warranty. I got it brand new under 10 grand from the dealership. I was like, I can't beat that because I was looking at a new Toyota. I was like, I want a new truck. I was like, I don't need a new $40,000.
Yeah, if I get another car, I'll just keep my Civic, drive that for like to comedy clubs and stuff and other shows, and then drive whatever. But
we got the RV, the RAV4, and anytime we do any road trips, like we just roll the seats down, and we have these big, huge pillow topper, mattress toppers.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, one of us are always sleeping in the back with the dogs, and the other one to drive. It works out. It's much cheaper. Like during COVID, we went on a road trip and shit. Where they're like, stay home. We're like, fuck that. We had plans to go to Florida for Reggae Rise Up. We had like 2 weeks. We had already taken off work, had booked Airbnbs. We were going to stay in Florida down there for the Reggae Rise Up for a week. I was going to do a couple of shows down there, and then we were going to go down to Virginia Beach, back where my sister lives, and stay there for a little while and then drive back. And the day we're packing the cars, everything gets locked down and shut down. Like, motherfucker. So we stayed here for a couple days. Then that stimmy check hit us. And we were like, let's just go out. Like,
let's go.
We didn't like spend. We already had money set aside, and then our Airbnb refunded us fully, and it was like, man, we got all this money that we already thought we had spent.
Yeah.
We were gonna move, so we went out to Virginia Beach, and I built a little sunroom, like a big patio thing off the back of my sister's house for them because
sweet.
Yeah, they had a contractor that bid it them like 20-30 grand. I was like, dude, I can do that for like $1,000 worth of material. I was like, that's
for real.
I can do that in an afternoon. What are you talking about?
You're handyman, construction. So.
Yeah. Well, the roof was what I kept telling him. Oh, it can't be done. I was like, that's bullshit. I was like, we'll figure it out. I was like, I can't see it yet, but once we get it going, we'll get it going.
I'm gonna have to keep you in mind. I'm kind of looking at townhouses right now, but it's like a lot of them you run into, you're like, oh shit, you gotta replace X, Y, and Z if you buy it. So
it's a tough
sometimes
time.
It's just carpet, and like, all right, carpet, and then countertop, and
that little stuff's easy. That is one thing I didn't do when I bought this place. Didn't have to do really anything. Some stuff outdoors I've still got to do. My driveway, I'm gonna finish that.
Where'd you live before here? Have you always lived in this area?
No, I was in Valley Park. Me and the old lady had a little house we rented out there.
Oh, okay.
Right down the road from where the old Funny Bone was.
Okay. Did you go to the old Funny Bone?
A lot, yeah. I went up there anytime like John was there. I went up there. We met.
You might have seen me up there then.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of you guys be like Max Price, all of you guys that were performing around the same time as John Maddie. I was
like
gone
5 years later.
Yeah. I finally got the balls to go up there. You'd be surprised how much material I had. Still going through old shit, still going through notebooks I was writing for. But who was it? What's his name from Jackass that went there, and he left with us.
Oh, Steve-O?
Steve-O left with us. After his show, we took him out to the east side, got all fucked up, and his whole set was about being sober half the night. Yeah.
I was going to say, wait.
And he just partied with us. Like, we went in and called off of work. We drove with Steve-O in the car, called off to work at our job. Didn't even call off, just went in and we're like, yeah, Steve-O's with us, so we're not coming in. Took him back out to like the Sheridan or something, and dropped him off. And like for being someone that's like, I didn't see him taking anything, but he was hanging in there with us all night long.
Dude, I mean, I have some friends like that. They can go out and just have a good time without drinking or smoking anything or whatever. So
my wife is one of those. Yeah, she.
Like I was out with my buddy and someone was like, "Oh, is he drunk?" And like he hasn't drank anything.
Yeah, he's our driver.
This is just him. That's him 100% of the time.
Yeah,
he's like dancing, having a good time.
My wife, she can really hang in there sometimes. Like back when I was partying, when we first met, we met at bars. Like we met each other at a bar. So when we first met, I was still going out a lot. We were both still going out drinking. That was our dates. And then she's from Parkway, Chesterfield area, has a lot of those friends, and their drug of choice is cocaine.
That's what I hear out there.
And that would be probably mine back then. So I would notice 3, 4 in the morning, my wife's still sitting there drinking a beer. She doesn't touch the shit, do any of it. We're all snot-nosed, and like, I was like, how the fuck can you hang with us? Like, I'm literally doing drugs to stay awake, and you're just sitting there still bubbly as can be, and have been drinking the same amount all night. She would drink more than me, and it was like, man,
I've never done cocaine. I don't know if I ever would.
It's not all that great. It's really not, especially out here.
I've watched too many shows on Nat Geo of like just how they make cocaine and stuff.
Yes, yeah, there is
like,
that, and like, well, the Missouri's real bad for meth.
Like, I guess I didn't know this until recently. It sounds, I guess I should have. I thought all the meth was made like, if you get meth in Missouri, it's probably made in Missouri, but a lot of it apparently comes from Mexico.
Mm-hmm. They have super labs out there.
And then they're showing how they make it in the jungle, and even the guys that were making it were straight up like, oh yeah, this stuff's bad for you. They're showing the big pile of crystals and stuff. They're like, yeah, this stuff will eat your inside. Like, basically, they're saying they're making it, responsible for making it and profiting off it. And even they're like, yeah, you don't want to do this stuff.
Yeah, to a point, but that's a lot of that is propaganda by them TV things. If you watch, Joe Rogan actually just had him on again. His name's Dr. Carl Hart. He's a professor for Harvard. He actually just got a big controversy because he wrote his own book about some of his life through drugs and how he enjoys, after teaching all day, he's got tenure, so now he can pretty much do whatever the fuck he wants and tell his story. He enjoys sniffing a line of heroin at the end of his day to relax and sit back. But he's a professional, and this man has gone around and does like drug seminars at countries for delegates and all these big government officials and shit. And he talked a lot about it. In the last episode, he's wearing a shirt with a methamphetamine molecule on it. And he breaks down all the propaganda and the scare tactics that they have. We're running around 50%, probably more like 90% of the people at college campuses are on meth. I mean, it's one tiny little molecule that Adderall and street meth are. And that one molecule they've tested does nothing. If it's ingested the same way, orally, it's the exact same drug. The exact same effect. And the long-term effects and everything, the only bad thing they've really found with it, I'm not advocating for meth by no means. I took the Adderall when I was a kid because I was ADHD. Yeah. And so it really interested me about that. I was like, okay, let's see. They said I would grow out of it, but I still can't read a book without having my prescription and comprehend that page. I can read it 10 times, not tell you what the first sentence said. Yes. Yeah, it's bad. But I was watching that, and he said the only thing they've really found that's health concerning is very high dosages to someone that's never had it, because that's the only time they found like brain damage to animals when they were testing mice, is they were giving mice that have never had it, that didn't have a tolerance to it, super high dosages, but through an injection, and it caused some brain damage to where they weren't able to produce their dopamine sensors that like release anytime your body has that reward pleasure feeling chemical. It burnt those out, basically. But that was only for people that have never done it, and all of a sudden was just introduced to a large, huge dose of it, and it really burnt them out. But if you were like taking small dosages as a prescription, they've never found any kind of damage to the brain or anything. just when you get off of it, there's a week or two that your body has to, if you're not that chemical imbalance of ADHD, because what that is just our brains already are lacking that. That's why we jump to topic to topic to topic and looking for something to keep us always in a excited, trying to give us that pleasure feeling, because ours is it lacks that. It's something in there is lacking from that
I got you.
that place. So that's why you see someone that takes Adderall that's not supposed to take it, and they're off the walls, bouncing, they're fucking speeding. But someone that is prescribed it and takes it regularly, they take it, and that's when you see them, the kid in class that's always talking and rambunctious, sit down and actually do his schoolwork and stuff. Yeah. So, it was really interesting finding that, because I grew up, my mom and stepdad, they both live in a very rough area out here in Fenton called Shangri-La. It's this really rough apartment complex that is riddled with meth. And I seen that as a kid, and we used to watch DEA come in there and like bust this whole apartment building. Holy and they're cooking and tweaking, and they'd have fucking 15 tweakers lined up, zip tied together on the curb, and it's like, that's what I seen it as. And then once it got into construction, I'm watching guys that own $1 million companies put the shit in their coffee or smoke their little glass vaporizer bubble thing. And
do a lot of construction workers do like...
Yeah, our infrastructure. Cocaine isn't the best drug to be productive off of. You just want to talk on that one. But methamphetamines and opiates are the two that America's infrastructure is built off of. There's probably every house you see built today had one drug addict on it, building it, had a hand in building it.
Well, back to what you were saying though too, it's like I feel like I hear all the time of just like the smartest dudes and college professors that do, maybe not regularly, but done like LSD, acid, and
LSD is one big one that, yes, you see some of the greatest minds in the world. Steve Jobs. He came up and did all the Macintosh shit after he took a bunch of acid and tripped balls. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like I hear all the time like the smartest minds in the world. Like, they're advocates. Maybe advocate's a strong word, but they
think there should be more study, more. There should be like Oregon has decriminalized all drugs, which has just given a lot of the universities out there the ability to study and research them more. And they've found they've had amazing breakthroughs with psilocybin mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms.
That's another thing I haven't never done mushrooms, but I'd probably do.
I enjoy acid over mushrooms. I've done them. Mushrooms is just one that I take large dosages, because when I do it, I'm not one that goes out into public. Like, I can't. When I was a kid, you see these guys at raves. Still today, they do psychedelics as like a party atmosphere. Not me. I can't. I want to be in my own environment here, by myself or with a good friend.
See, I've never really done anything besides, smoke weed or edibles from time to time, but I just kind of stick to, drinking alcohol, man. It's like, I don't know, that's just me, but...
And it's all about perspective and it's to each his own, and whatever one's poison is.
I keep an open mind with anyone, because I got a bunch of friends that do, like...
I don't know. I don't trust many guys that shoot up heroin. Sorry, I've been around a lot of people.
Man. That's one thing I'll never do.
I just don't want to be around them when they kill themselves. That's my biggest. I know many successful people that do it, and it's like, I just don't want you around me. I don't want you in my car with it. I don't want it around my house.
Yeah.
Because if you fucking overdose or you get some bad shit or that fentanyl, but that's why I believe it should be legal, because they can get this shit that's pure, that's legit. It's not fentanyl. They know what it is. Just like Portugal did 15 years ago. They gave up the war on drugs. They made everything legal. Right. They made it to where they could buy their shit and get their stuff at a clinic that is like, they know it's not poison, and they know they're not going to kill themselves with that amount, and they have a place to do it that's safe. And while they're doing it, since they've learned psychologically, as an addict does a drug, their best time to get to them to try to get the right thoughts in their minds to get them off of it is while they're doing it, right before they do it, and then right when they're hitting their that they're starting to come down from their peak. It's their most acceptable time, I guess, to really get to them with a counselor and a drug addiction therapist.
Is that the hardest drug to come off is heroin, or the most addictive drug?
Nicotine, I believe, is as bad as it is heroin, as far as the way it really puts a strain on the body.
I've never really studied,
But that's another one that they try to say you do heroin once you're going to be addicted. Have you ever been hurt? You ever go to the hospital and get a morphine drip or something? You don't come out of there. As a kid, I broke my arm. I didn't come out of that bitch fucking a drug addict, a heroin addict. It's just that thing that they put into us that, like, if you do it once, and most people do that drug once because they're at a low point in their life and their willpower is all gone, and they do it and they feel like that helps them escape that part of that life, but it really doesn't. It just kind of hides it for a little while until that high is gone. And then they're just trying to get high again so they can forget about it. But eventually they got to face reality and face what they're hiding from, pretty much. There's a lot of the drugs that I've noticed.
I was like, really the only pill I took Percocets one time. That's because I had my wisdom teeth out, so they gave me 800 milligram ibuprofen, and then they gave me a bunch of Percocets. And then I will say, after the first few times of taking that, I was just like, man, this just made me feel relaxed, made me feel good. And I went through. I don't
get Perca drunk is what I always call it. I get puke off of them. I'm horrible with it.
I wouldn't say I was I wasn't addicted by any means, but at the end of whatever they gave me, 20 pills or whatever, 15. At the end of that, I was like, oh man, I want to try to get some more of these. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I went back. I'm like, I was being truthful. I was like, oh, I'm still feeling pain. It was 2 weeks later back here. And I was like, can you prescribe me some more of these? And they're like, oh, okay, we'll just give you 7 more or something. Damn it. I thought they'd give me 20 or 30, but
they're
it was a good feeling. But
Missouri was is like Florida with the pain pills. I had a guy that worked with us. His name was Rob, and he was a great carpenter. Come right out of the union, went into the union, real young guy. Learned a trade, real bright. Stepped off the back end of a second-story house that we hadn't had the walls up in yet, and hurt his back. And within a year of the pain pills that they were pumping into him, because Missouri and Florida are the top 2 worst places for their system as far as tracking how much these people are getting as far as opiates. So he had 6 different doctors he'd go to in a day and get the script after script, and I'm talking big scripts. So these Oxycontins and Percocets, and he got to a point to where he's sitting in his truck before work nodding off and stuff, and it was just it was crazy to see. I've seen it happen a lot with opiates. That's why I'm lucky I can't take them. I puke anytime I've ever taken any kind of opiate. I get real sick off of them, and that kind of defeats the whole point of them, because usually I would take them for back pain because I threw my back out at work or something. And I'm just humped over a toilet puking, just tearing my back up even more. So
see, I'm kind of scared of needles, so I'll probably never inject any kind of drug in my body ever.
So we have that. The guys that I don't care what one does, like you said. I don't care, but the people that are shooting heroin and the methamphetamine can be shot, and when you see the guys that are shooting that, they're in bad place. They're if you can't get fucking high off of that shit with just taking a little bit and swallowing it, and you need to shoot it straight into your veins.
Right.
That's I don't even know what that does to you, but I can only imagine, because I'm not one to try to sit there and lie or beat around the bush. I've tried it. I've smoked it. I've tried it. I've experimented with a lot of different things, and that's how I can judge. Worst thing that's addicted me, these. This has been the hardest thing to get rid of.
Yeah, that's what everybody tells me.
It's the hardest one to get off of. I've done cocaine. Like I said, heroin's never interested me or piqued my interest at all. I've tried it pill form, and it made me sick, so I couldn't imagine acid
or LSD kind of intrigues me. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but
that one,
if the opportunity arises, I might
That's probably one of my favorite ones.
Try it once, basically.
Yeah. With that one you take and I get this feeling every time I take it. I'm like, I just want everyone to feel this. I just want everyone to have this feeling.
Wait, how long does that last, though?
It depends on how much you take. Some people make the mistake of taking LSD and then it not working quick enough. So they take more and it doesn't like hit you harder that way. Yeah. It just prolongs it. So if you just take a hit of acid, you're looking at maybe a couple hours worth of fun. Oh, and it's not like you're not going to be peaking at that.
See, man, that's why I stick to like beer, whiskeys.
Like, and it's going to be that first hour. For the most you're not out of control if you're just taking a hit of acid. Yeah. You're still fully in control. But if you allow yourself to sit there, you'll start feeling like these butterflies in your stomach. I get this weird feeling with my teeth, like my teeth have nerve endings, and like it feels weird, a little weird.
See, that's how I am with edibles. Like sometimes it takes like an hour and then it hits me. Yep. Like other people are like, oh yeah, it's like 15 minutes.
And that's a whole nother form of THC too. Did you know that? With edibles, it hits your kidneys your liver does something to it and turns it into another molecule of THC. And they measure that in a psychoactive way. That's why people flip out on fucking edibles sometimes. Oh, really? That's why they take it and they're like, no, man, that's not weed. I've had weed before. Yeah, that's why edibles will give you that mental fucking
I've never
crack.
Flipped out. I haven't done it a whole lot, but...
that's the only time I've ever had one that's like, I've gotten a little like sweating, like scared for a minute, like felt like the walls were closing in, like, and I just had to be like, "Come on, dude, you're tripping. You're Brad. You can take as much." But that's when you start reminding yourself in your head, like, no one's ever died from pot, like, because I was that kid for a while, like that would push the limits with weed, dabs, bong rip, eating a bunch of edibles. And I never really flipped out until, like, it was just edibles. Like, I ate too much. The gummy bears, my buddy had gummy bears. And I think he was just trying to see how he could get me to flip out. He's like, how much is it going to take? So he just kept making them stronger and stronger and stronger. And then finally, because he knew I'd always grab 2 or 3 of them and just pop them in. And I grabbed 2 or 3 of those. And I'm like, he also is the guy that sells me acid. So I'm like, hey, man, you sure there was nothing else on those gummies? Because I'm flipping the fuck out. Like, I'm freaking out right now. He's like,
luckily that's never happened to me. I don't plan on it.
But there's not many people that also are putting like 15 milligrams of THC in a gummy bear. You're maybe taking 100 or 200.
And somebody gave me a package one time, and I was just like, I'm gonna start out with 1, see what that does, and then I'll just take another. Just try to be. Especially if it's something I don't ever do, like on the regular. So just try to be careful with all that. So.
Well, you've done a lot of shows with a lot of bigger names. Do you ever come across a comedy scene is known for like drugs? It's thought of to be known for like drugs. And I think that's from all the 80s guys like fucking Kinnison.
I've just worked with guys that just smoke a bunch of weed.
I think that's the main thing nowadays.
I've never really seen anybody do anything else, but
I've had someone bring up, they're like, oh, you gotta be careful with all those guys in the comedy scene. They're all known for doing coke and heroin. I was like, that was like 1 or 2 comedians.
I'm sure there's a few that maybe do coke, but in my experiences, everybody, I've worked with a bunch of headliners that don't drink, do anything, and then
everyone I've met so far, really, they don't.
And to me, like, some of the best headliners I know, or just comics in general, are guys that don't drink or do anything. So, which is, saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of money, and they're probably more focused on.
The one I was reading, I forget what book it was, but going to a show and the bar, you do a show and they're paying you this much and they offer you a free. They're like, your drinks are free. Yeah. And that bar sells those drinks at $6 a pop. You do 5 shows that weekend. You do 2 beers, 3 beers a show. That's so much money. They're like, that's cutting into profit. They're going to notice that. They're going to notice that, and you're going to be seeing, okay, well, I got to pay this guy this much for the show and then this much in beer. I was like, and I only try to drink like 2 beers when I'm at the show, but I do that usually only just to make sure I'm tipping the bartender sees me, because I hear that's the most important thing. Make sure to go give Sean a fucking $5 bill.
But you don't. But at the same time, you don't even have to. You can drink a soda. You can hey, can I get a bottle of water? Just took a dollar or two, but
Backdoor's so cheap though; it's hard not to get
yeah,
beer.
Backdoor's cheap because I get like 7 and 7s there, and they're like
That's my drink there, boy. I love a
$5,
7-7.
But no, yeah, and a lot of times, like me personally, like if I do 2 shows in a night, like on a Saturday, you know, might do 2 shows at a club. A lot of times the first show I won't drink anything, just to kind of just stay, especially if I'm emceeing. Like, okay, I just want to focus on the introductions and the announcements and all that. And then the second show, after my set, then I'll have a beer, and then the second show I'll just drink like 2 beers or 2 drinks or whatever. And that's just me personally. Some other guys.
Do you ever get drunk and do a set? Because I noticed
No.
there's you come off to me. You
I
and
try not to.
you and Will Donald come off as very similar to me in a way, unique in your comedy, but similar in your personalities. Just likable, nice guys. But Will's got this. Will's got like this. Some nights I see him clean cut, you know, drinking water. But then when you see Will drinking, he's got this whole nother grin, like this shit-eating grin. And he's like, he comes on there and his comedy's a little bit of the same, but it's just a little bit more raw.
I'm not sure if I've really seen him. I don't think I've ever seen him drunk, or like, I guess, yeah, I don't know if I've seen him drink more than a couple, 2 or 3 beers, but I kind of, I've definitely seen him have some sets where I was like, oh man, he seems like he's having a good time.
Yeah.
Drink some beer and whatever else. But, yeah, and I know, I mean, everybody's a little different. Some guys can just drink through the whole show or the whole night, but
I just pussy sip on a beer most of the time. A lot of people are like, man, he must be drunk. No, that's something I lean into most of the time.
Years past, you know, I've definitely had nights where it's like, you know, drink 2 or 3 that first show or whatever, and you get to the second show, you kind of got like a little buzz, going like, fuck, wish I didn't drink that last beer, and then go up there, maybe you forget a line or something. So I just, yeah, it's just kind of my strategy for the most part. But so at the very least, I'll drink like 1 before the show, like a beer. But a lot of times I'll just like, hey, give me a water for now, and then like 2 hours later, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to drink now.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why
just
I
be
do
a
it.
responsible host. Try to be.
Yeah, that's something I really looked into. I believe the host is a really important spot, especially at like a showcase. I've always, because anytime I've went to a show as a younger kid, and you went to a lot when I lived down in Virginia. I got my first little apartment when I was 17. It was right down the road from this little venue that had like punk rock bands and stuff in it, and then comedians and open mic nights, and I would go there for decent shows. And the host was always there at the door to bring you in, and usually
I've done that before.
yeah, do all that stuff. And then when I watched a show about, or a video about it, and how you're not there to do a set, you're there to control the energy of the crowd, recognize it. Like, let's say someone bombs, you got to now bring that energy back to neutral for the next comedian to come on to the stage. You need to recognize it, get the crowd back to not feeling so uncomfortable.
And it's not that your comedy doesn't matter, but it's probably like at the bottom of the list. I want you to do like a lot of clubs, just the announcements. It's how you start the show, everything, the introductions of the headliner, the wait staff, everything else, or recognizing the wait staff.
That's where I made the mistake.
And then just like at the Funny Bone, for example, you do they sell those dollar tickets, or they take donations for the tickets, I should say, sell. So you do that at the end. Right now, I think it's Stray Rescue that they're partnered with. So hey, cool. We got these tickets for every $1 you donate. We're gonna give you one of these tickets, good for free admission to a show. Come back. So
cool.
You want to remember that whole spiel and get that down. But yeah, if you do all that well, but you're not funny, that's still like you're probably still not gonna get a lot of work. You gotta be at least halfway funny to up top, because your job is also to get the crowd rolling. Setting up the feature act or whoever's next. So
getting that, and then
so if you're not getting any laughs, then you're not setting up anybody. So
do you feel like you should bring in somebody, like, let's say, like I was talking to Rob Durham, and like for him, his style of comedy, you put someone like Kyle Fields in front of him, that's just 110%, just full energy, out in the crowd doing crowd work. Like his main thing is all crowd work. And then you have a comedian, let's say like me, that's got to follow him. Do you try to bring the energy down a bit from that to
So
where it's more neutral? Because I'm a little bit more dry, monotone, like lower energy. I try not to be. I've worked on, that's something I'm working on. It's that I don't sit on the stool no more.
Yeah.
I try to.
Well, I think maybe what you're talking about is more like a showcase or something.
Right.
'Cause I feel like when I book shows, I do try to consider like the different styles and the energy and who's following who. I don't just pick 3 funny people.
Right.
I just kind of take everything in consideration. And I would say most clubs do that too. Like, hey, we're gonna have so and so headlining, so who would be a good feature to before them?
Okay, yeah, that's smart.
Bob
That's
or
a,
John or whoever. So
that's not
really,
gonna overshower.
You shouldn't have to worry about that a whole lot. But if that does happen, I never really feel like it's my job to. I don't know if I'm right or wrong on this. This is just my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's.
I don't feel like it's my job to bring the energy up and down to set up in between comics to set up the next guy. I feel like that's their job to
Take themselves out.
When they come up, they can be like, "Hey, give it up for Jim Johnson or whoever," and then they can just kind of start their set accordingly based on what just.
Now Jim Johnson's watching this and he's like, I've never met this guy before.
John Jones.
That's what's up. Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of different, but I also, I believe the hosting is one of the most important ones.
Oh,
Are you doing the backdoor competition, the battle again?
Hosting? Or?
Yeah, are you hosting that?
I don't know. That's going to be up to you and Michael, I guess.
I haven't really gotten anything from him yet.
I'm down to host that. I had a blast because I don't know if I'd be. I was like, man, I don't think I'd be good at this roasting thing, so I didn't enter. But then I think it was like a couple days before Michael asked me to host. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be fun, and bring everybody up and kind of introduce everybody. Yeah. And I had a blast doing it, so I wouldn't mind doing it again if you.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. I'm not competing. I told him if he wants me to host, I'll host. But I like the way that I told him. I was like, Andy did a great job, and I told him since the beginning, I was like, that's something I would like somebody to be the face that's there every one if we're gonna do it more than one.
Yeah.
Something that like you see with the Comedy Central does it the same way, and that's how I hope he's setting it up. I haven't really been too part of this one. He messaged a bunch of us. And I was just like, I'm not interested in competing in this one. I didn't want to compete in the last one.
It looked really hard. I was actually really impressed with everybody because I thought. I was like, oh, there's going to be a few that are really good, and there's going to be some that suck. But I think everybody really did a good job. Like, I can't think of anyone.
I was sucked by the people. Like Cody and Andrew Gaffigan just completely blew my mind. Because I was not expecting that at all from Gaffigan. Like, I was expecting Kuvar I was definitely expecting Kuvar to take it. But nothing beat... what's his name? And Dormeyer and Quentin. That was.
Yes, I didn't know the whole story behind that. But,
I had just got told it right before they went on. Quentin had just told me the whole situation, and I was like, so it made a lot of sense. And that wasn't their first time. That was the second girl that had happened that situation. Yeah. So I was like, man, this is perfect. And it all came out on stage, and they handled it so well. It didn't get ugly. It was just all comedy. And they shook each other's hands, and it was great.
Yeah, they did a good job. There's just a couple things, because I think I just had a couple days notice, and then I was trying to go. I take every hosting job seriously, whether it's a roast or if it's somebody's birthday party and it's 7 people. I still want to do a good job, so I was trying to go through. I'm like, okay, and like how. Asking Michael mainly, I was like, hey, how do we have this set up? And I thought it was going to be over 2 days, and then I got there. I'm like, wait, we're just doing this all tonight, right? He's like, yeah. And then,
that's where it got all changed up. It was supposed to be like a 3-week thing.
But the one thing I didn't think about is, well, the first intermission, I was like, hey, this will be good because everybody just basically watched probably 40 minutes of people going up there and roasting. So they're like, all right, this would be a good time to take a break. So I just went up there. I'm like, hey, everybody, we got to judge this all and just go smoke a cigarette or go to the bathroom and come back. But then the second time he was just like, oh yeah, just do some time while we just like that. And I was like, okay. And then, I'm, going through my head like, okay, what jokes do I just want to do right now?
Yeah.
And then I just
and it was already at a dark point in that night.
I'm like, so. But look, I just kind of rolled with it, and I'm like, well, I'll just do, just in that split few seconds. I'm like, oh, shit, well, I'm just gonna do X, Y, and Z, and so you basically just go into a set, and I think I just did like 7 or 8 minutes, and all right, we got the
my plan.
tallied.
My plan was, since he used the idea with, I wanted to use the Friday night, since he only does one show on Friday night. I was like, let's use those comedians that you got booked at night if they're interested in being judges. Just something fun they can do, and they can give their feedback just like they did. I basically stole the whole platform that Comedy Central is. Why don't fix something that isn't broke? Right. And I've seen the New York and the East Coast was doing their own, and then the West Coast was doing their own, and Comedy Central was having them to go against each other. I was like, there's no fucking what is it? There's no Midwest. There's nobody from the middle of the country. And it's like So I was talking to a guy that I did hosted for that was from Chicago before COVID, or before the competition, and he had got me in contact with one of the show guys down there that does booking shows, and then he got me in contact with another guy from like Indianapolis and Atlanta. These two guys from there, and we were talking about getting together and putting together like a whole Midwest. They were going to do one. And then we were gonna like try to see if we could get into that whole part of that show. Yeah. And so I brought Mike the dates before I ever reached out to them, and he stuck with those dates, and just the timing was way off. And then he switched it to that night, like a day or two before. He's like, "Oh no, we're gonna do it all the same night." I was like, "Oh, we'll see what the comics think." He's like, I need you to perform. I need you to compete. I was like, okay. I'm like, I don't mind bombing.
I think Steve Kramer and Christine Stedman had fun with it. And I don't remember who the other judge was, but so yeah, you had 2 good headliners that sit there and I don't think, I mean, to me it was obvious just as a host. Sitting in the back, you can kind of be like, okay, that person won, and there's maybe 1 or 2 you're like, oh, this one was close, but a lot of times it's like, okay.
I thought Cody got cheated.
Oh, okay, I do remember. Oh, against Quentin. Yeah, Quentin was about to leave the club. He's like, well, I don't think. And then they're like, Quentin Wilbur.
That's why he actually split the money with Cody.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it was really nice of him. It was like, I like that. Quentin shocked the shit out of me when I had him on the podcast. I did not know he had a degree in like ancient religions.
I did not know that.
Yes, he's got a degree in studying.
Where did you go to school at?
I'm not sure about that. I just know that with some of the information he was, because I really got into the ancient Sumerians and all of that, because I traced back. I was like, where did Christianity come from? I was like, because it's not that like old of a religion. And then just looked into that, and I was like, oh, so basically it all comes from this ancient Sumerian and the cuneiform text that they found. I mean, pretty much that's the same flood story. It has all of that. Things are changed. You can see each major religion took their part of the story and made their own religion around it. And I found out he knew all about that because his tattoo is that. Like, I came up to him one day at a show, and I was like, is that Anki and a Lil on your arm? Because I don't see many. It's not something that our groups, guys our age are really are paying attention to or watching documentaries about. And he's like, and it was right before he went on, and he was like, yeah, I'm surprised. No one's ever known what this tattoo was. And he went on stage and was like, I fucking hate talking to you, Brad. You're like the dumbest looking smart guy I've ever met. And I found out about that, so I had him on the podcast and was just like, that's all I'm interested in. Really, I just want to know about that from you.
So you guys just talked about that for 2 hours?
A little bit. And I was like, be prepared for it next time I call you to have you on. I was like, bring your school books, because I got questions.
Quentin might have been one of the first comics I met when I started doing comedy. Like, probably one of the first 3, 4, 5 guys I met.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like, I started out and there wasn't as much stuff to go to as there is now, like as far as bar mics and stuff like that. And I thought I would just go to the Funny Bone all the time because I thought that was the only. We didn't have STLcomedy.com.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Mics. So he's like, yeah, there's this mic at this place called the Art Bar. It's downtown. I was like, oh wait, there's other open mics.
There's other open mics?
It's like, yeah, there's one here. He goes, then Wednesday night you can go here, and
Yeah,
like, whoa. I was like, I thought this was just you come up here every Tuesday and you just tell. Do your thing.
I felt like that was an initiation thing. Like you had to do your first open mic because like I didn't get told about that. Even with John being a good friend of mine and everything, he didn't tell me about that until after I did my open mic. He's like, "Oh yeah, here, sent me a link to all the open mics." And she was like,
"Yeah, I wish I would have."
Dude, I didn't know there was a bunch of other open mics. I thought it was Helium and Funny Bone. That's where I did my first one. Was at the Helium Bucket and like I didn't want to make a big deal about mine. I didn't want to make a big deal like. I didn't want to go up there and the guys be like, "Oh, it's his first time, man. Fresh meat, bring him on up."
You didn't want that?
No, I just wanted. I thought I still watched my first set, my very first video. I recorded it, and I was like, it's not as bad as some of the guys. It's like I still have a joke or two in there that was a solid joke.
Yeah, I was already telling the story a couple weeks ago to some friends, but they were like, "What was your first joke?" And I was like, "My first time was at the Westport Funny Bone, because that's the only club I knew of, or the only place to go." And so, unlike some of these idiots nowadays, if I can speak frankly, like, I actually went to the website and looked up all the rules. Like, don't wear shorts on stage.
I did the exact same thing.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
Look for the light. Be here at 7 o'clock. I'm like, okay. 1, 2, 3. So I went through and I was prepared.
Do I need my birth certificate? Do I need my going to the DMV?
Some of these guys show up to the club and they don't know what's going. They're like, what time does this start? Where do I go? And what? And they're unprepared. I'm like, did you not do any research at all, dude? It's like, I know it's your first time, so I want to cut you a little bit of slack, but man,
you couldn't have looked it up at all. We have we have computers in our pockets.
Yeah,
just Google it.
So I was like, okay, Westport Funny Bone, 7 o'clock, and, don't wear shorts, blah, blah, blah. But my first set was about a show called Extreme Couponing on TLC, and I just assumed everybody watched that show or knew of it. But, so I did that for 3 minutes, and compared to some other open micers, I was like, it wasn't too bad. And I got a few compliments. Maybe people were just being nice, but some comics were like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty good. It was your first time," and I was like, "Yeah." And so that kind of gave me the confidence. Okay, I'm gonna come back and do this again.
I like seeing the new guys come back. I was really upset. There was I don't know if you remember or if you were there. There was an open mic that the Back Door had, and that was these 3 high school kids. They had just graduated. It was a couple weeks before COVID shut down. Yeah, but they came in, and you could tell they had been working on this all through that year of school or something. And they came in and kind of crushed it for their first mic ever. Really did a great job. One of them had a joke about 9/11. He's like, could you imagine being the guy that was at home right next to the buildings? He's like me, I would have probably been jerking off. And he's like, I was like, you motherfucker. He's like, how did you do that back in the day? Right. And
not bad.
Yeah, no, he had some good jokes. One of them was really loud, in your face, and just. And the other one was kind of, stood back and was a little drier, but still had jokes. And you could tell all 3 of them helped each other with their set. But
all these guys were 20, 21.
No, they were 17, 18 years old. Yeah. And I was just like, you guys keep doing it.
I was like,
we have one that's returned that I've seen.
We had the internet in 2001. Shit.
Right.
But still,
yeah.
2001.
He's like, it's not worth it if it doesn't hook up to the internet. It's useless. And I was like, you fucker. He's like, what, a hammer and nails? What is that worth? And I came up and I was like, bitch, I build houses for a living. We build a hammer and nails builds everything in the world today.
But yeah, the thing you see with a lot of newer comics, this is not their fault because they are 18, so they don't have a lot of life experience. It's they're just going to default to the sex stuff and, jerking off in their basement or on 9/11 or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not, I can't really blame them. I mean, it'd be nice if they were like, yeah, I went to, I went out on a date with this girl and they talked about that, or, oh yeah, I just started my first job at this restaurant. Yeah. But,
Elijah does pretty well. He's learning. Elijah, have you seen any of his stuff?
No, not recently, no.
Yeah, which I keep telling him, I was like, dude, if you just keep doing it at your age. I was like, he says he's been doing it since he was 15. And it's like, well, just doing like anything he can get his hands on. I was like, if you keep doing it by the time you hit my age,
when you're 25, you're gonna be so good.
It's like you'll have all the technique down, and then you'll have the life experience to fucking plug into this shit.
Well, I told when Ronaldo first started, I remember he was probably like maybe not even a year in. I saw him at Helium, and I was like, I don't think he was like 21. I forget how old he is, but I was like, man, I go, dude, you're doing so well. I think this was before he started really getting booked at like to MC and all that. I was like, dude, you're doing so well. Like, you don't talk about some of the stuff other guys your age talk about. I go, just that alone, like you're already on the right track. I was just keep doing what you're doing. And I think, like I said, I didn't really know him at the time. He was maybe 6-7 months in, but it's kind of at that point you at least seen him here and there.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I've seen this guy at the Funny Bone and Helium and a couple of these mics.
And you've really got to watch. It's fun to watch. Just not just myself, but the guys that I've seen start at the same time. Alex Blodgett was one of them. Like I saw his first set, and he did a great job his first set. And he's still he writes so much.
Does he?
Blodgett writes a lot. I mean, you become his friend, and you're gonna get messages on Facebook that are like 3 pages long. What do you think about this joke? And I was like, dude, I could do my joke in 15 words. It's like I gotta read a novel to tell you how it is.
I would get annoyed by that. I don't mind that from time to time, but at a certain point, I just tell people, Mike, man, just take it on stage and.
That's what I tell him. I always have to tell him. I was like, I'll let him know. I was like, it doesn't have legs. I was like, I don't see where it's got legs or that's got something funny to it.
Yeah.
But that's what I keep telling him is like, just send me what you think is funny on it. Find the funny of it. Because that's how I did. Because I started off as a storyteller. I really liked Jamie Foxx. I think he was one of the comedians I was watching a lot right before I performed, just because that was I grew up really.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You don't really think of him as a.
That's what I always say. It's like a lot of people don't realize, but that's where he was. He's a god in the comedy world.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's one of the only people, like me and Jason Nelson and Marquise were talking about. We would like to see a special from him because he knows how to make anything funny. But now, would you really like to see something that Eddie Murphy has to put out as a stand-up? What is he going to talk about nowadays?
I think he just went through a divorce.
Did he? Yeah, okay. Then yeah, he could talk about, if he talked about that.
Yeah, he just made Coming to America too.
Yeah, but that's what I was talking to him. I was like, why do these guys get famous that are like stand-up comedians starting off and then they get big into Hollywood movies?
Yeah.
And they give up on the comedy. I mean, do you think they would still be legends, like if they stuck with the comedy? Like Dave Chappelle did some movies, but he's king ding-a-ling in the comedy scene now.
Maybe he could have done more because he did the Chappelle show, and then maybe he could have done more movies if he wanted to. But
I'm sure he was.
Took a break, and then he came back and he's just doing stand-up now, but he can do pretty much whatever he wants, I would think.
That's like the Mitch Hedberg joke, though. He's like, as a comedian, like when you make it as a comedian, they're like, well, can you act? He's like, well, can you fucking teach or something like that? He's like, no, I can't act. And especially Mitch Hedberg style of comedy. That wasn't a...
the other thing, though, too, is like if you're a comic, I would think you'd probably get tired of just being on the road after a while. And then you'd be like, man, I just kind of want to do some... If I can do a movie or get a sitcom or something.
Yeah, if you could do
that for a while, but
a movie at home and make twice the amount of money you make doing these fucking dirty ass clubs.
Yeah, it's just everybody's different. I can see if you're a comic and you've been on the road for 15 years, and then somebody's like, hey, I think you'd be a good fit for this TV show, and like, I can get off the road and just do this show and make a couple $1 million or whatever.
Yeah, I've been in talks.
So there's that, but.
I've been in talks.
I don't know if I'd ever want to. Grant, if I ever get lucky enough to get the opportunity, but I was like, I don't know.
I could see you as a TV star.
You could.
I'm in talks with a comedian that's going to be performing at the Helium in middle of April. His name's Jeff Dye. I don't know if you're familiar.
I
know. He does a show. Just got into his 3rd season of some show on NBC. And he's like the host of that and everything. He also was on Last Comic Standing and MTV shows and stuff that he was on. And he is still hitting the road and stuff. And that's going to be one of my big questions is like, why are you still on the road if you've got this NBC show?
What
is it?
What keeps you getting back on the road?
Well, is it just him still trying to get out there, get his name out there?
I
Because
think some people do like the process though, like because I mean, the few times I've kind of been on the road, I've enjoyed just the, going out on the road, getting your stuff prepared, hitting the road. You get to a new town that you've never been to, new club or a new venue, whatever you want to call it, and then you get to perform in front of people that never seen you before. So, could be that just like some guys just enjoy the process of like meeting people, going to a new town, traveling. Like I've met a few comics that they're just like, yeah, I love just driving to new cities. Like I feel like James Johan's one of those guys. He enjoys being on the road. As far as like, I don't know about enjoy. He don't mind driving though. So
I'm that way. I like good traveling.
He's been doing it for 20 plus years too. So.
Do you ever hit the road at all? How many?
Just a little bit, man. Right before COVID, I was fortunate enough to go to. I did a weekend in Mason City Limits. And I got to feature for. It was me and Johnny Kavanaugh. So
okay.
And then the club
for Chris over there, yeah.
Chris basically opened. He brought me up. I did like 25 minutes, and then Johnny did his thing headlining, and we were supposed to do 2 nights, but the Friday night got canceled because there was a snowstorm. Yeah. So then we just went up there Saturday. But it was fun. I mean, it was just like probably 15, 16 people. Yeah. But everybody was having a good time. So, and I was up there. I felt like I had a pretty good set just with the 15 people and 25 minutes.
It's a small room, so 15 people is
and then my last show right before COVID, I got to go to Iowa with you've probably met him before, Chris Smith up at Backdoor Comedy.
Yeah.
And he invited me to go open for him at Keokuk, Iowa Elks Lodge. So that was fun.
And that was the introduction to Elks Lodge.
And well, we got up there. This was, stuff was going downhill because of COVID. So we got there, and what normally would be like, they're like, yeah, normally we have like 150, 200 people, and it was like half of that. But it was still a fun show, and like it was weird because everybody was kind of spaced out a little bit, these little pockets, which is kind of the norm now. Mm-hmm. It's getting better.
Have you seen the Red Flag, the way they do theirs?
Yeah.
It's a lot of comedians. I heard a couple of comedians saying it was too big the way they do it and how they space everything out. It's too hard to do it.
Venue, but
I watched Reggie go up there and kill it. Like, it didn't matter how spaced out you had these people. There was people over there like, he's killing me. It's like people are literally hunched over, grabbing their stomachs. Awesome. I was like, man, and he was on it that night. But I definitely felt it when I performed there. It was like you guys just got to change up you get used to your motions. You're going to have to change that up a little bit more all the way around, because I'm the type that tries to do like setup and premise and punch and like kind of have a rhythm that I try to stick with. And you definitely bigger stage.
I did Gary's Becker's show there. I guess it was last month back in February. But it was fun. It was just, I think it was so big you couldn't, when you're on stage, you don't really hear the laughs as much.
Right.
So you don't. It's like you're doing fine, but when you're up there, you don't think you're doing as well. Because then when you're down there, I'm listening to like Rich and Will crushed, but I listened to like Rich, and I think he thought he had a bad set or something. I was like, dude, you did pretty well there. Yeah. Having a good time. Some people were just kind of like chuckling or smiling, but
Rich Braun?
Yeah.
Braun. I opened up hosted his weekend with Mo Alexander.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. He gave me a lot of great tips. I'm working on getting him on here. He's just got a lot of stuff going on, so waiting on that.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got some interesting stories.
He did have a lot of good stories, and he got a lot of great tips. Like, he knew I had done it before, and he's like, get here early. I was like, okay, yes, sir. And I got there, and he had like some notes and stuff for me, which threw me off my game, my first one. And then my second one, I came in there, I was like, all right.
I've been at Backdoor Comedy a couple times, and it's part of comedy, man. It's just you got to be good and write good jokes, but sometimes just be in the right place at the right time, and an opportunity will find you.
Oh yeah, that back door with that lady. When I was getting out of the car, when I opened up my show on Thursday, I pointed out the lady. I was like, I know I got out of the car, and you were complaining about a dead skunk somewhere.
That was pretty funny.
That wasn't a skunk. And like, she was in tears almost. I was like, yes, I could have gave up the mic right then. I was like, one person in tears. That's all I need.
Actually, my brother, he's really hard to get. Someone that's hard, you gotta have good jokes to get him to laugh. He said you were funny. So I hung out with him after. He goes, yeah, that guy with the long hair, stoner guy. He goes, I like this joke about getting pulled over by the police. And
I actually wrote that one at the back door from the dishwasher that worked there months ago. I was there
really?
before they shut down. We were talking about getting pulled over, and he's like, I got pulled over the first time without any weed on me, and I didn't know how to act. I was like, that's a joke. Like, I know exactly what the hell you're going through.
Yeah. That was cool. He's like, oh, yeah, I like that guy. And he normally, but he's a hard person to get to crack. Like, even... So if I tell him a joke and he laughs, I'm like, okay, I got
that's
something.
That's a solid, yeah.
So, which I guess he's a good asset for me to have.
My wife has my clean comedy when I go to. I was like, I got a couple jokes, and the clean ones I give her, because if I can get her to laugh on those, it's like, those are great dad jokes. Because to me, one line cline comedy is just dad jokes almost.
I remember, because I went to lunch with him one time at Raising Cane's, and we were leaving. I'm like, I was like, I did this show. I had I feel like I got a good set. I had that. I go, have you heard my joke about? This is an old joke now, but I don't even really like doing it. But my Demi Lovato joke. It's like a real, almost like a one-liner short joke. So I told him that joke, and he started laughing and Raising Cane's like, okay, well, man, I'm glad you like that. This is when I've only done it a few times. Like, I'm gonna keep doing that joke then. Yeah. So he's like, oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I've noticed my list. I'll write all my jokes out. I just need one word to remember my jokes, especially like when I did like 10 minutes at the back door and 10 minutes of one-liner. Sometimes I just need that one word to keep me on track, and because I am a pothead and my memory sucks. But I've gotten to a point now I don't really use it. I can just throw out whatever comes to mind. Yeah. But my list gets really long, and then I realize I don't use any of this stuff anymore, and it gets really short. It's like really long and really short. So I'm at the point now to where I've actually built a set to where it's like subjects. Okay, marriage. I have a good solid 3-4 minutes on marriage. Solid 3-4 minutes. I got like 5 or 10 minutes probably on drug jokes, but they get, it's low hanging fruit when. To me, it's like, I don't know. It's not intelligent jokes. I like the jokes you got to think about sometimes.
I'm getting to that point with a few of my jokes, like that one I referenced, and there's probably a few others. I'm like, these it's kind of just, first level type jokes. It's not really, it's almost like a short 30-second jokes. But sometimes I just like to use those to just get that quick laugh up front or somewhere in my set. Like, okay, get that. I know this can work. Just a quick, kind of silly, goofy joke. Get a laugh, and then keep it rolling.
Oh, I understand that. That's all of mine. That's my whole set.
I was like, this is goofy, but it still works. But then it's not really something you enjoy doing on stage as much, maybe. But I was gonna say too, with as far as right place, right time, I was gonna say, been at Backdoor Comedy, just. And this is with any club, but just be there, just show up, watch the show, and maybe you get a guest set, and sometimes you just end up hosting. And a couple times, guys were running late the MCs were running late, or one guy, like, he unfortunately had like a fender bender or something, so he got held up. You got to do the police report and all that. And so Michael was like, hey, can you MC? This was like 6:55 or whatever. Yeah, show starts 7. Yeah, 6:55. Like, yeah, sure. So I'm just like, take that 5 minutes. Like, okay, what do I want to do up top?
Yeah.
Just go up there and do 10 minutes and get the show rolling. And then he goes, yeah, you just do 10, and then I think it might have been Randy. He's like, and then Randy, he's gonna be here in a few minutes, and we'll just have him go up and do like more or less a guest spot. I'm like, all right, yeah, that works for me. And I forget who was headlining, but it's just, sometimes you just show up and you never know what's going to happen. That, and you don't know who's going to see you, too, on stage, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, you were really funny, and where else do you perform? And, oh, I'll be here at this bar next weekend. You guys should come out, or, next month.
Yeah, I definitely got to start going to more shows. It's just my job. I have a lot of a schedule that I stick to. I know... Like, I'm up at 4 a.m. every morning to be on the job site by 6 to be swinging a hammer until 3. And then it's like get off at 3, get home, shower and everything. And where I live, it's like get to the open mic or get to the show. and then
Yeah,
I
you
want to
live
get
way
to
out here,
bed.
it's like I'm kind of. I feel like I'm kind of in the middle. I'm like.
Well, Funny Bone takes you a little while, don't you? And Helium.
Like 20 minutes.
Oh,
20
okay.
minutes.
So you're
Not bad.
right at the
I
beginning
drive
of St.
pretty
Peter.
fast. So-
See, if I still had my bike, definitely. I used
then-
to make it down this road to the highway in
Yeah,
3
and then
minutes.
Backdoor comedy is like 15 minutes. It's just anything down the city is like 30 to 35 minutes, depending.
Yeah, Helium, I think I can get to the quickest. But Funny Bone, I don't know. I rarely go to the Funny Bone. I sign up for Sundays and when they have the Sundays, but I don't do the Tuesdays because Word Up is a better crowd. I mean, they have more people. I've been there multiple times to where they're literally denying people. They're like, we can't let anybody else come in.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
What's the venue?
The Word Up over there at Legacy.
Oh, Legacy. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I've been meaning to.
That's
That's
what
off Delmar,
Confliction, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Confliction and Energy, Dasha, Polk, and Lewis, they run that one, and it's a mixed mic, but a lot of the comedians. That's where you're gonna see Tonario.
Do you have to pay to go up there?
Yeah, it's a $5 thing,
Okay.
but after I found out that they're with what they do in the community as far as the donations, and usually that $5 goes to the $100, the person that wins the $100 competition at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,
Stuff
I'm
like
fine.
that, I don't really. I mean, if it's $5 and it goes towards something, then that's
Yeah.
fine. But like a lot of times, like I gotta pay to go up on stage. Like you should be paying me. I guess if
In
you
a
win, you
point,
get
but
paid,
yeah, but I get to I've weighed it out. I'll take the 30 to 40 people they'll have there on Tuesday night.
Yeah, when you put it that way, all right, I'm gonna pay $5. There's gonna be guaranteed, 40 people attentive, listening to me, and I can go up there and.
It's a
do my
solid
thing.
place to test jokes.
Like that's worth $5.
And the drinks are only $2.50, $3.
Oh,
It's like I weighed out all of it, believe me, and because my biggest downfall is not being able to just go to the Funny Bone and hang out with those guys. But I feel like I'm at the point that I need the stage time there, and I'm building relationships with a lot of those guys there too, and because the Funny Bone don't like me anyway. I don't know. I don't.
Like,
It's
should we not get into that on the podcast?
no. I've only. No, we've never had issues. I've never had issues with anybody at the Funny Bone. I've made a comment about one time they weren't, but when they first opened back up, I got a phone call from Gary Becker saying, "Oh, since we were doing open mics at the Red Flag and doing all that, they're not putting us on the list at the Funny Bone." And then I called them out, and they're like being not drunk, but being fucking an asshole early in the morning. They were like, I was like, "So can I still come support the show if I didn't make the list?" Kind of just being that kind. I wasn't like being a dick. I was just like, because if you're not gonna put me on the list for that, not even let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
It was like, especially since you guys started doing comedy, I would drive up there every night. Like I said, my schedule's strict. It's a little bit of a ways. I had no problem. I know that's the routine. You go up there, you sign up, you don't get put on, and you stick around and you watch the show and hope for the next week. I was fine with that, but it just really got a little annoying when I found out I could be getting stage time over here or here when you guys could have did the online thing. Now that they do the online sign-up thing, that's fucking awesome. Like I know the night before if you're making it, it's just really hard for somebody that's not one of these 20-year-olds without a marriage and other life things going on to try to schedule something.
Right.
Like you won't know until that very minute. It's like everybody else in the world has given us a day's notice at least. So I can let my wife know, yes, we can plan on dinner tonight or not.
I mean, I get that. I'm single. I'm still like, yeah, it'd be nice to, post the list a little earlier. But, I mean, honestly, dude.
But now they do it a day before, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Matt, GM, he don't care if you have started an open mic on Tuesday or if you have a show on Tuesday or if you go to. He doesn't care if you go to Helium. He don't care if you do. So anybody that says, oh, they're not putting us on the list because we're doing this show now, and I find that hard to believe.
And I've done shows with I've even tried to get Scott to come on here. He's just busy as fuck right now because of all the vaccines out. Everything is opening back up. It's getting harder and harder to get you guys to come on here. I was surprised what I had. I know you had to, which I liked how you wanted to schedule shit a couple weeks out.
Yeah, well,
I hit a lot of people up, and they're like, "What about tomorrow evening?" I was like,
I did another podcast a couple weeks ago too. I don't know if you saw that. My buddy that lives out in like Portland, they do their thing out there, so it was all through Zoom, obviously. Or
Portland, I want to go to Portland. I've always wanted to check out Portland.
Cool city.
I go to Seattle a lot.
I don't know exactly where. I think he just kind of lives in the suburbs.
Yeah.
I don't know how close he is to the city, but.
Yeah, we and her, because my buddy that's now at WashU, that doctor, he was out at Seattle, and we would go out there all the time, and he was a nanny as like his job through college. His neighbor still owns a huge pot fucking farm and dispensary and everything. So I was in heaven. Like I went over there, I gave the guy like $80. I was like, whatever your coolest, best strains are nowadays. He came out with like 3 ounces. It's like, dude, I got like 3 days here. I'm leaving in 3 days. I got to smoke all of this.
I like how we circled back around to drugs.
Yeah. But the Seattle,
45 minutes ago.
But Portland and Seattle, do they do comedy?
Oh, no, this is just guys I went to college with.
Oh, yeah, they got a big comedy scene I hear in Portland. I hear Joey Diaz. I watch his podcast sometimes. And,
yeah, Portland has a helium, don't they?
Yeah. But they have other clubs, too.
Yeah. That's the first thing that...
Isn't the Funny Bone here privately owned? It's not part of, like, the Funny Bone in Virginia Beach or any of those?
Yeah, so, like, this is the only Funny Bone, to my knowledge, that isn't franchised, as they call it. So, like... Yeah, there's like a funny...
So who is the owner? Because I've been looking, not the GM, the owner. I want to get the owner on.
Oh,
That's the guy, the suit and tie. That
I know his name. I've spoken to him maybe once, but his name's Gerald, but he's not really ever at the Funny Bone.
I heard a story from Kuvar because I think he asked for something. Kuvar was sitting there at the bar, and there was all a bunch of people around, and I guess the owner came up and asked for something or was trying to get around him or something, and Nick Kuvar didn't know if he was talking to him, just ignored him, and he was like, great, another fucking comic that doesn't like me. And Kuvar's like, no, I just don't know who you're talking to. I can't fucking see you. Yeah. So I was like, man, I'd like to get him on because he brings so much to St. Louis as far as to the comedians. I mean, somebody should show appreciation to him a little bit. If he thinks that we don't like him, I don't think that's the case. I don't meet many comics that are like, fuck that owner.
I don't know much about him, man. But
or is it maybe he's just a suit and tie that cares about money and it's a good investment for him? I don't see how. I've ran the numbers on opening my own and it doesn't look good.
I mean, yeah, he's just kind of, he owns it, but he's, to my knowledge, he's more behind the scenes, just like, hey, everything going well? Okay, you guys got booze? All right, yep, see you later.
Man, and he gets to see so much great. He has the ability to see so much great comedy and have such a hand in it.
He's never up there though ever. I've seen him up there like twice maybe, and I go up there all the time. Not all the time.
I couldn't.
I go up there and see quite a few shows. So like, I've seen him like on a Saturday. Probably last time I saw him was like 2 years ago up there.
Man, I couldn't be because I would love to be a club owner. That's something I think I could really do if I just had the money to invest, because I know it's all. If you book them and you put the money into advertising, they'll come. If you get the right names, the big names.
Well, the owner doesn't book them.
I know. That's what I would be. I would have a big hand. I would have a big hand in that as a club owner. Like Mike Tobin does all his own booking.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be Mike Tobin because I would have a Joe Rogan at the fucking.
Michael's like owner, booker, GM. He's all the above.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I had him on here, and he's done it. The comedy club is just something that he's passionate about. He's done. He had a shipping and receiving company that he built it from the ground up that he sold for millions of dollars. He had a small voltage, I believe, electrical company. He's a legit entrepreneur when it comes to like,
dude.
yeah. That's a big reason I had him on there because I went to college. What I went to college for was business, economics and civics, and it was to be on the stock market, believe it or not. I wanted to go to Wall Street when I was like 18.
I mean, yeah.
Because that's why I never had money. I was like, those are the people with the most money. And then my professor's like, you don't need college to go to the Wall Street. You need money and to go to Wall Street. And I was like, well, I can't afford Wall Street right now. I need a bag of weed, you know. No, I didn't even smoke really that much during college. It wasn't until I got dropped out. But yeah, that's what I went to, and I was really interested because he does those networking program, business networking I think it's Tuesdays. He has his, and it just really intrigued me how he's really involved and really in his community and small businesses and stuff.
Oh,
and
for sure.
that's something that interests me because I want to own my own company one day. He even made me. He didn't make me. He just mentioned it, and I did. I went out and I did a whole fucking business plan of how from the beginning to the end on making a contracting company, and
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's the way to be nowadays. It's just like you go, like when I went to college, it's like okay, go to college, get a good job, and work for somebody. But really, it's the other. What you should be doing, what we should have been doing when I was younger, was just learn how to, start my own company and work for myself.
Yeah.
I think that's besides having fun on stage and making people laugh and doing all that we do. It's just like best part for me is I'm basically more or less my own independent contractor, especially when I'm booking shows. Like okay, now I can pay myself and like
yes,
a little side hustle.
Yeah, you can build yourself. You can LLC yourself, open you a business account through that LLC. Start pay yourself, but always put 10% or whatever percentage you can afford in there, and then you can build you something. Eventually, after a couple of years of doing that, you'll have enough money in there to where you can take it to build something of your own, your brand, yourself even larger, and really put yourself out there. If you want to build a club or you want to put on a big show with big names, you're going to get the line of credit because they see that you've been with them for so long, that business account's always been in the positive. You're constantly putting money in it, into it. It's constantly building from the interest rate that account, whatever, which that's where you look at into who you go with to pick your account, whoever gives you the best rate. Which a lot of these online ones, which I don't know how I feel about that. These they have no brick and mortar place. There's no bank to go to. Yeah.
Well, I think just as a comic, it's just like, as you get better and maybe a little bigger and more well known, it's like now you kind of more control of where you work and what clubs you go to, what, maybe one night venues you go to, and pick and choose. Like, I want to go to this town, and, or they asked me to do this show in Cedar Rapids or wherever, or Ohio, and then you basically control that. I guess if you get to a certain point, you might hire an agent to do all that for you, but it's just like you control your own, your money, where you want to work.
Yeah, you're definitely your own subcontractor to these venues, pretty much. They contact you, and you set up a contract. And this is great about controlling your own contract. You can put whatever you want in there. I want this star of a hotel room. If you get to that level, if they're looking to book you that way.
I'm only 33, but I'm just like already tired of working for other people. It's like I don't think I can do this another 25 years. Like I work at a bank, and it's good money and all that, but it's just like, man, some days it's just like I'm tired of basically taking orders from this person and that person, and you're on their time. It's like you're doing their shit. And it's like then you get off work, and it's like you try to muster the energy to go to a mic or a show or just sit down and write a new joke and do everything else in life. Like I'm not married, I don't have any kids, so I don't have that. But other comics that have that.
Oh, I could imagine with the kids on top of it. I don't see how somebody with kids is able to do it. A young child that they have to be attentive to. They could even think about getting into comedy.
You got to take care of a child, and we know some comics like that. It's like work, take care of your kid, then you go do this show, come home.
That's I think of that all the time. That's a big question I ask. Like me and Nick, I started the question with Nick Lacer was, what is making it to you? Are you just supplement the income you're making now with shows, or if the fame? What is it? What level of
Are you asking me this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I've been asking everybody, what's making it to you? Do you need to be on TV? Do you need to get on Joe Rogan?
Making it to me is just doing what I want to do every day. Like making it to me would just be a traveling comic, not even like a big club, not out in LA, not doing TV, not in New York, not in movies, I don't need a special on Netflix or nothing. Making it to me would just be doing what I want to do every day, which is get up, work on my comedy and go do shows and do that full time. So if I'm doing it full time and I'm traveling to different cities every weekend or whatever, and on the road and doing what I want to do on my time, on my terms, then that's making it to me.
Yeah, that's how it is. I was like, I just need what a minimum wage McDonald's worker makes full time. And I was like, if I could just pay my mortgage,
if
I'm
I can
out.
make 50 to 60 grand a year doing comedy, which, say you go to a club every weekend and you make $1,000 or something and then you sell some merch. I could probably live off that.
All day.
I'd be really happy doing that.
Yeah.
That's making it to me. And I'm sure you get varying answers on that.
There are a lot of people try to stay humble, but then again, I can tell the people that they're making it to them is road dog to me is fine. I would be fine with being a road dog as long as I'm able to do it because I like traveling, love being different places, meeting new people, and you get to perform. And that was a big reason I'm looking into actually doing a show because I got this great venue. That's about 100 seats after COVID, the whole COVID thing. It's at the Sky Music Lounge, and it's out there off Kerr's Mill, kind of Manchester, Chesterfield, Wildwood area. Yeah. Big money. Big money.
Big money.
Yeah, and I worked there as a bartender, but right now with the COVID restrictions, there's 95 seats or something. After that's up at a double, I think, and I can get it from the guy for $300, and it comes with a sound guy, 2 bar staff, the stage, everything you need.
That'd be
and
awesome.
Yeah, it's I even got a little marquee board. It's cool ass venue. There's a back bar where you can shut the main bar in next to the stage down, so that's not all loud. There's only one TV in there that you're able to shut down. It's a perfect place for comedy because it's even got a green room and everything, for comedians that want to change and people like Mr. Showtime that get into their outfits and all that stuff. So I'm looking into that, but it's not going to be one of these shows to where nothing against any of the comics, but I'm looking to book. I'm willing to put the money in.
Yeah.
Because I can make the guys if you sell tickets for this, if you sold out a show, you sold tickets at $10. After you pay me, you're going to be making I think he's $500 or $600. I was $10. If I'm booking a comedian in this show, I was I know the money that's out here. I worked here. They throw you $10 bill tips like it's nothing. You're I don't have any 20s. Will you take a 10?
Right.
And it's a bunch of rich divorcees too. It's a cougar den is what I always called it.
It's a good place for a show.
It is. It's a great place for a show, especially if you put in the effort to advertise.
I was just thinking about your question, going back to your question, I was going to say, the catch to all that is nowadays you kind of have to have some kind of credit to get booked. It's easy to sit here and say, I want to just get booked at all these clubs and just go work every weekend and have fun, get on stage and make new friends. But then it's just when you go to the clubs, it's well, how do people know you? What kind of following you have? So if you don't have like a dry bar comedy special, for example, or something along those lines, or you've been on something, even if it's just XM radio, a lot of people just use that as a credit. You heard him on XM radio and this and that. So it's you have to have a couple things to, get booked. Be oh yeah, I saw this guy on Facebook or Instagram or something.
As a host, does those announcing credits get annoying when you get one of those guys? Because I did one comedian that I hosted, and he had 6 things. He's did this, he was banned from this, he was a part of this show, he did this show. This show's come on, bro, pick the biggest one that everyone would know. You were on Kevin Hart shit, that's everyone knows that. Let's get rid of the rest of this. Really, then he got mad because I forgot one. It's dude.
It's I was talking to another comic about this a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about, I was I just opened for blah blah blah, and I was man, the guys who have that big long list of credits usually are
mediocre.
I don't want to say suck because they're headlining from good clubs, so they don't suck, but they're not as funny as the guys who just have 1 or 2 credits. They just absolutely go up there and kill every time. Yeah. And the guys that give you 6 things to remember, you're just like, well,
Yeah.
good. It's like,
Well, luckily, this guy that had all this list, he did kill it, and he
That's
set
good.
he set his whole setup for his merch, like his whole show, like the hour that he did, like this real long kind of one running joke he kind of had, and at the end it was this huge punchline. And then it was like another tag on top of it when he showed what his merch was, because his merch was basically kind of a cartoon scene of the joke that he was doing, and it sold. Like, he was selling out, and I was like, that's smart. That was like good. The guy's also a fucking he gave up being a professor of some like calculus mathematician at some college. I was like,
shit.
you gave that up to do comedy? Holy shit.
Well, that's like Greg Giraldo was a lawyer for, I think, like, well, I don't know if he was probably briefly a lawyer. He went to law school, like Harvard Law School, and then he I forget all his story now. It's one of my favorite comics, though. But he went to Harvard Law School, and then I don't know if he dropped out or if he was a lawyer for maybe a couple years, and then he just started doing comedy in like the mid '90s, and unfortunately passed away years back. Are you familiar with Greg Giraldo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I think I know like Quentin. That's like our favorite comic.
Yeah.
His favorite comic and mine are one of favorite comics. But
He did a lot of drinking, didn't he? Wasn't he?
Did a lot of drinks.
Yeah.
And drugging.
yeah. His health was. What did he die from?
I think just he had I think it was a drug overdose.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah,
I was about to say heart attack, but it was.
Could have been. He was running around with Kinnison and all those boys. You know, like.
Oh no!
That
Geraldo
time.
Wasn't.
That time era.
Oh.
You know, that was just a big cocaine fuse. Yeah. Just like, that's what you hear when you talk to people that don't know, like, ever go to comedy, and they just think of, hey, I got an open mic, or I'm doing a show tonight. They're like, my boss was probably one of the first ones that's like, doesn't really know comedy, doesn't go to comedy shows, and goes to church a lot. And it was like, and he just looked at me and was like, yeah. And I was like, dude, it's not that, because another guy was like, you guys party hard last night. That's why you come in here slacking in the morning. It's like, I'm not slacking. Fuck you.
Occasionally I can get into, I think some comics back in the day that maybe passed away, they got into like the nightlife part of just after a show, you can just go let loose and party. And
I can't do that. That's I had to leave. I had to leave
I've done
early
that
the other night.
It's like, oh, well, show's over. Saturday night, let's go drink at this bar or that bar, and then you stay out until 1 or 2 in the morning and feel like shit the next day. But
yeah, when I was 21 to about 26, 27, and I was partying hard out selling blow, like that's what I got in trouble for, and that's why I'm in Missouri, because I got in trouble. Went to
kicked out of a wedding.
Yeah, so once I did all that shit, and if I would have been into comedy, definitely could have seen that, and I would have fucked up probably a lot of people's careers. Because I was bad with it.
It's good that you waited to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have that structure to where I know I got my wife at home, and with me doing the podcast and comedy, I'm the type that I have to stay busy. So I have to stay busy, and she, you know, sometimes you can forget to worry about your priorities.
Well, I think for me, not as much anymore for sure, but maybe a few years back, just it's because you get off stage, and if you have a good set, kind of got a little bit of that
rush. Oh yeah, definitely. That's what I do it for.
Man, I had an awesome set. Everybody's coming up to me after the show saying they had a good time. So this and that, and then I got to work with a badass headliner all weekend.
Yeah, killed it in front of
or maybe it's just a one-nighter. Oh, I got to work with a cool group of comics.
That's why I want to put on shows too, just to be able to book the guys you want to work with.
But you're on that high, and you maybe just had a couple beers at that point. Like, oh man, I'm ready to drink now. Like, go have
and then
fun.
people are also offering you drinks after you do a great set. Yeah,
because just this year, even with just in the past few months, just go. Like I did some spots at the Funny Bone, just last minute. I was just hosting, 10 minutes or whatever. But then you go to Backstreet Jazz, and like, oh, you were that guy, you were the host, and what are you drinking? And I'm like, Budweiser.
I'll
get you. Hey, you want a shot? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's hard to turn down a free shot. You don't want to be disrespectful.
I'm not even the headliner or I'm just opening.
Yeah.
People are like, oh yeah, you were pretty funny too.
Yeah.
So
the Marina Bar was bad for that.
It's hard to do your set and go home, but that's the discipline, and I'm trying to get better about that. I can't say I'm.
I didn't want to leave Thursday night. I was like, I could stay here for because it was the reopening. Everyone had that buzz, and the buzz was in the air. I had a great set. I felt everybody was killing it, and it was just like, I don't want to leave right now. But my wife, we've both been working late, and then I had been doing the open mic. I did open mic Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I didn't see her all week. I was like, I gotta get home.
Dude, I'm glad my brother and was there, because then I was talking to them after the show, and they're just like, hey, we're probably gonna go to like Applebee's. If I didn't go to them with them to Applebee's, I probably would have stayed next door and had a few more beers. Probably nothing crazy because I had to work the next day, but I would be like, oh man, I'm just gonna go next door and get a whiskey and coke or something.
Yeah, I could have stayed there.
Maybe not. Maybe I would have stayed there a couple more hours, just wasting time basically.
Yeah, but that's how a lot of people get shows too and get to know each other.
That particular night, I'd probably just been wasting time. I've just been at the bar drinking. But
who's the best person you've hosted or opened for that you've done? Who's been your favorite?
Oh man, I don't know. Depends how you define. Like I opened for Jordan Rock at the Funny Bone one weekend. That was like almost 2 years ago now, but it was when the Blues had the Stanley Cup run and they won it.
Oh shit!
So it was like I remember it was in May and they were like in the Western Conference Finals. So like Friday night, it was what normally probably would have been like 200 people. It was like 50, 60 people at the show. But then Saturday night, there was no Blues game. It was packed. So that was fun because got to hang out with him. He brought his feature, and then like my buddy Stefan was doing guest sets. Stefan Hightower. So that was just like 6 shows, like good crowds all weekend. I had some great sets that I remember, and so I couldn't ask for anything better, and got to hang out with Jordan a little bit. Guess somewhat famous. I mean, his brother's more famous, but all the Rocks are pretty.
Yeah, the Rocks
are
the Rocks.
So just watching him on stage, I was surprised. I'd never seen him before. I was like, man, this guy's really funny. Like, he's got the Rock humor.
I wonder if he gets to call his brother up and be like, hey, what do you think of this?
But also, I mean, some of my favorite weekends too have just been like with maybe like I like working with Brian Hicks. I worked with him at Backdoor Comedy. That was a blast because he's all the headliners that are just down to hang out after the show and just bullshit and have a beer. Like those are my favorite weekends. Not really about. I know I mentioned Jordan Rock, but for other reasons. But it's not really about the notoriety or if they've been on this show and that show.
Yeah.
So I just like headliners like that, like him, a guy Tim Northern, who I'm going to be opening for in May. He's another one of those guys just likes to hang out, have a good time.
Yeah.
And, he was on Last Comic Standing, so he's got some good credits.
I remember that from the very beginning. I watched that show's first season with Ralphie May and Dat Fan.
I remember that guy.
He's a SeaWorld instructor now. He gave up comedy after that. Wins it and gives up comedy. Ralphie May goes to sell millions. Yeah, I was quite upset with that first season. I think that's why I gave up on it after that.
But no, man. But really, the headliners. My favorite weekends are just, doing the show and then hanging out afterwards. Because to me, it kind of sucks when you just like do the show and then you look around and everybody's just gone. You're like, well, I guess I'll go home too.
Yeah,
it goes back to what we just talked about too. It's just like, hey, not getting drunk and going over the top after.
Yeah, wasting all your profit, spending all your profit.
All your profits, but
yeah. What about the best piece of advice any comedian's given you, or not even that? Just I ask a lot of guys, when did it start to click for you with their writing and like you were like, oh, I get it. Like it's just I see it happen with a lot of comedians. Like they're in the beginning. John Maddy was one of them. Didn't do great in his first couple open mics, and then all of a sudden you seen something in his head clicked. Like it was like, oh, this is how I write a joke, or this is what a joke is, or something like that. That somebody told you something, a video you watched, a book you read, something like that.
I'd say it's kind of hard to pinpoint it for me, but I would just say like my first year of comedy was like horrible, like I sucked, and then like really, I remember the first actual really good joke that I wrote was about might have heard it before. It's like my brother becoming a manager at his job, and then him taking that just being annoying with it everywhere we went. And then after I wrote that joke, kind of when it it hit really hard that first time I told it. Then I'm like, oh, this is a good. So this is how you write a joke. Like this joke, like, this is the best response I've ever had to a joke, and like everybody in this club is laughing at that joke right now. So it's a good feeling. It's like kind of clicks. Like, oh, this is how you kind of write, set up, and then the punchline. The punchline is like something that you're not expecting, which is always
misdirect.
Generally a good punchline. So I had that misdirection and it worked. I'm like, oh, so this is how you write a good joke.
Yeah.
Other than just and everything I wrote before. Maybe I had some decent jokes before that would get half laughter and some chuckles, but
after you figured that the way you structured and you started
and part of it I think was just going out and watching comedy, like going to the Funny Bone and watching a show on a weekend.
That's what I did before I ever got up on stage. I would go to like all the open mics I were going to, the Helium twice a week, the Funny Bones open mics until for like months. Then Nate Barron called me out and was like, dude, I see you at every open mic. Why don't you get up on stage? You're always here with your notebook. I know you're writing stuff.
You brought your notebook.
I was sitting there writing. I was just like, I'll just bounce off of the creativity and stuff. And I was going, and I never just signed up. And I was like, you know what? You called me out. I'll be here next week, and I'll do it. And I got up.
I think for me, the more that I watched, which makes perfect sense, the more headliners that I watched at, weekend shows, then it kind of like, oh, this is like.
I see how it's done.
See how it's done. Like, oh, okay, and then I took something that I was a real life experience for me and tried to, use that same strategy, the same methodology.
Yeah.
Wrote it all down, then did it, and it hit hard. I was kind of like, whoa, like that shit worked. Like that's a good joke. And then
you learned how to take that personal shit and make it funny.
Then you do that next. Then try to do it. Just try to replicate it. So like one of my favorite jokes, probably my first year of comedy, was this guy named Robert Hawkins. I don't think a lot of people know him. He was like on Arrested Development like a long time ago, or he was a writer for that or something.
He got a lot of stuff out?
I don't think he has a ton of stuff. Like if you try to YouTube him, I think he'd probably just have a few videos. But
I'll find him.
I'm sure you can find him.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite jokes I remember from my first year of comedy, just up there watching a show. He goes, he's just talking about going to church and his childhood and stuff. He was just like, I try not to butcher this joke, but he was just like, yeah, I was raised Catholic. Yes, I was an altar boy, and no.
Okay,
just that simple, like the simplest joke, and that got a big pop from the crowd. It's like, man, he said like 15 words.
Yeah.
He said like 12 words, and that was all it took. But just that and no, just because you know what everybody's thinking.
Yeah, that's big. I think that was one of my big ones. Is I write as a storyteller actually, because I write something out as is, and then the way it happened or the way I see it in my head, and then I go through and I just try to strip everything away from it to find just what the funny is. What is the actual funny? The information that is making people laugh. All the other stuff is just fugazi or whatever. Yeah. Like that's the information they need to hear the where is the joke. And that's something I think is a good way to test jokes too, even for storytellers. Go up there and do like the big way I test some jokes now I've learned is don't have any emotion in it. Just do it as dry and monotone as you can. And if that gets a few chuckles or some laughs, then there's something there, and then you can start building on top of it. Because if it's if it's just funny, just hearing it, and it's like, haha, I get it. There's funny there.
Yeah. My first couple years doing stand up, it's just like you said, strip away the fat and just get like Tim Convey's probably gave me some good advice. It was just get to the joke. I start bullshitting up top and saying all this stuff that really the audience doesn't need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
it's not improving the joke at all.
Take what you said in 45 seconds and condense it down to like 25 seconds, and you get a much better response. So and part of just learning how to write a joke is just it's timing, it's cadence, it's getting to the joke as fast as you can without the least amount of words possible.
Yeah. Timing, I think, is one of the most important. I think because I've seen so many people that have amazing sets, and if the timing isn't right,
Yeah.
not good at all. But then you see some that's like, and then you see them do it another night, and they're just on it, and in that rhythm, and it's like, it's just perfect. The joke makes sense now. Like, you can have a joke that doesn't make no sense at all if you just don't time it right. Don't let it sink in long enough, or you let it sink in too long.
I've had that problem too. Let it like stepping over laughs because I just want to get to the next joke. And
Yeah.
I've had the first show like back from COVID, like the long layoff, like in the spring summer, did a show and this guy came up to me after and I had a pretty decent set. He goes, yeah, you got some really good jokes. Like, you're a good writer. He goes, but you're like rushing through everything. It seemed like I was like, oh, and I didn't take offense to it. I was like, really? Because I know that I do that, and I've had that problem before. He goes, yeah. And I was like, man, if you slow down, and there was another show shortly after that. People were like, yeah, we were still, like, yeah, you were funny, dude, but we were still laughing at the one joke, and you went on to the next one, and we were still laughing at the other one.
Yeah,
you should try to slow down. I'm like, okay. I'm like, thanks for telling me that. Like, I take it all as a learning experience.
No, definitely, that's great constructive criticism.
Thanks. As an audience member, you don't really expect people to tell you anything relevant or constructive.
Yeah.
Like, man, thanks for telling me that, because I know that I do that a lot, and I try not to do that and slow down, but sometimes I just get ahead of myself. It's like I want to get to the next punchline and the next one and get through it. And sometimes it's like, I don't know how much you've experienced this, but you'll be up there like, okay, I only got 10 minutes. I'm trying to fit all this into 10 minutes.
That's why it became a one-liner originally as
Or
I started.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or like an open mic, 5 minutes. You're like, oh shit.
I really want to try this one out.
I got 30 seconds left, and I don't, so you tend to rush. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that I haven't done a whole lot of them, but the 25-minute sets that I've done is just like, it's like easier than a hosting set, which some people would be like, well, you're doing 10 minutes versus 25, but it's easier because
You have room to breathe.
yeah, you just breathe, just relax. You're just like, you can wait an extra 5 seconds for people to finish laughing, and then you go like, all right, now I want to.
I try to go the way I try to not do that. My goal is to. I have a hand. I've got I'll write down 15 jokes, and then those are the ones I'm going to use that night. If I'm not getting no laughs, I make it through all of them. If not, but I try to do as least as I can. Like the Word Up competition last month, I lost by 3 points to Marquise Moore. Bastard.
So you got second then.
Yeah.
Dude, that's pretty good. I mean.
Yeah, especially since I was
tenured.
Yeah, Marquise Moore, Tommy Dangerfield, Reggie. Like, I was like, when they told me that, because I just asked her, I was like, what's the score? What did I get so I know what to work on? Because the way they scored, they had judges.
Yeah.
And they judged you. You had 5 points towards each one. And she's like, oh, well, you got a 95, and you only lost by 3 points. I was like, wait, I got 95? I was like, were you kidding me? I was like, no, did you not hear the other? But I did do really great, a lot of more crowd work in a way. I was able to, I did the one-liner joke, and someone's like, I got a line. And I say, hey, don't start something you can't finish, buddy. And I was able to, I did a lot more. They were talkative, so I was able to work with them. And I did do a really great job that night. I wish I would have got it better video quality. My camera was too far in the back.
Yeah, I left my tripod at the club on Thursday night.
I broke mine Thursday night.
Michael snagged it. He's like, "Yeah, I got it for you." I was like, "Man, I just bought that 2 weeks ago." I broke my other one, so I'm like, "Well, I think comedy seems like it's picking back up. I probably need to start trying to film more stuff." And so I bought that off Amazon.
Do you have a decent video that you send out to people to get booked for?
I need to work. Not really right now. I need to work on that. Luckily, I got some weekends coming up where I'll probably try to film all my sets and take the best one. And
how much time do you think you should have on that? Because I've got a couple good I've got a 10-minute one and a 5-minute one.
I've always been told really like a 5-minute video. It depends on the club or who's booking it, but I've always been told just like a good 5-minute video is all you need. So now if you're sending a video to somebody for like a feature set, they might want more like 10 minutes. And I've heard from people too, I don't think a lot of people do this, but they'll sit there and watch your whole. They'll want you to send a 20-minute video or something.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard some people only pay attention to the first couple minutes, and then some people pay attention to see if you can actually have 20 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of comics and club owners and bookers have told me like we're really just gonna look at the first they might just look at 2 or 3 minutes of your video.
Because if you know comedy, you can look at
yeah,
somebody that comes
somebody's
on.
been around comedy 20 years. They can sit there and look at 2 or 3 minutes, like this guy's got it, or he doesn't, or he's good or he's not. So he's a good fit for this club or he's not. So
That's I feel who is it? Kyle Fields. I'm just waiting on something to happen to him blowing up wise. Have you seen his shit?
I've just seen him once at Backdoor Comedy.
Oh my god!
And I didn't know who he was, and then he started doing all his crowd work and stuff. And then I figured out kind of right away. I'm like, oh, because this is what he does.
Yes, it's like I've seen it.
But I do have a few videos, but nothing that I'm confident. Just they're like okay, and I've submitted them to like a couple festivals or one festival, I should say, in Iowa, and I didn't get accepted, so it must not have been that good of a video. So, but I had a 5-minute video from the Helium.
See, now I'm all nervous and shit. Like, if you're not getting it, I know I'm not getting it.
No, it was decent. It was a decent video, but looking back at the video, like the more I watched it, I'm like, man, I look like a little like uncomfortable or what's the word? It's like stiff on stage.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like I need a video where this was from like 3 years ago too.
Be more loose
and now I'm way more comfortable than I was 3 years ago. So
I can only imagine as long as you've been doing it, because I can feel just from when I get up there now to especially Backdoor and the Word Up, those two mics I really feel most comfortable in.
Dude, I'll say like I get jealous guys like you and other comics that just go up there. They're like maybe it's their first few times or a couple months in, and they just like look so relaxed on stage, and they're sitting on this. Like, man, it took me like years to get that comfortable on stage.
Oh no, I still today like
maybe you're nervous in your head.
It is.
In your
it's
stomach,
all in my gut. Like
give off the appearance that you're comfortable. So
I appreciate that. That's a big.
First couple of years.
Because I feel that is a big thing, and you never come off to me as someone that's nervous on stage. Like
I'm not now. Like,
yeah.
I was super comfortable on Thursday night. And
Thursday was a great night.
I was just having a good time. So now I've learned to go up there and just have fun. And I think eventually I just realized, like, this is comedy. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be, a robot on stage and stiff. Like, you can relax and, the people. And really, too, the audience can sense that a lot of times. If you're not comfortable and you're nervous, then it's going to be harder to get them to go with you. So I learned that too.
Oh yeah, it's like I watched a documentary about the psychologically and like herd mentality and like the herd, like a comedian, somebody that's on stage, whether it's a singer, a performer, a band. If the lead guy is up there, their energy is going to be what's replicated throughout the whole crowd. And this is like studied. They studied like if you come up there uncomfortable. And just not used to it. They did it with like people that have never done public speaking, people that are really terrified of public speaking, and they like judged and did questions and test, and I guess like ran scans on each person on their heart rate and how they reacted to each one. And they took a professional that came up there and was used to just speaking to people that had no problems with it. And the herd thing is a real thing. Like you come up there and you control that crowd and you direct it where it wants to go. If you want them to be in a dark place, uncomfortable place, is where you can take them. And
that's the job of the MC though too, is to control you're the first person up there and you're kind of controlling the show to an extent.
Hosting, I'm not great at it. I take it on every chance I get, but it's just one of those things I'm not good at. I did great my first open mic one. Didn't do the best when I did Mo Alexander until I did fine the very last show, but the 3 before that or the 2 before that was bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the more you do it, the more... the better you'll get at, the more you'll know what to say when you get up there as far as the initial introduction. Like, just the stupid shit. Like, hey, welcome to, Backdoor Comedy or whatever.
Being comfortable doing it, too.
Yeah, hey,
that's
welcome.
where I was.
We got a great show lined up for you, and just that stupid shit that you have to say at the beginning of the show. I shouldn't call it stupid, but just that kind of script.
Oh, yeah, no,
there's a better way of putting it. That script that you have to kind of say. You don't have to say it like a script. You can just be natural about it, but it's just covering all the bases more or less, just having that professional voice, that professional attitude, and then going into your jokes. But one good thing that like Scott James taught me, because I'd go up there and I'd take. This has worked out well for me, a lot.
He's always got a good pieces of advice.
And I worked with him. He said, yeah, when you go up there, what you can do is leave the microphone in the stand and do the whole welcome to the club, and then when you take the microphone out of the stand and then you put the stand, off to the side, it gives the audience kind of a sense of like, hey, now he's about to start telling jokes.
Oh, that's actually
it's a good point where the audience recognizes the show is starting. And before a lot of times, pretty much 95% of the time, I'll say something like, hey guys, I'm going to kick things off. Are you guys ready to have a good time? That's just my go-to line that you'll hear me say all the time. And then get that reaction like, yeah. And then,
that's when
when they're clapping, I'm taking the microphone out of the stand and putting the stand to the side. And then I'm going into whatever I want to talk about.
Probably one of the best pieces of hosting advices I've ever heard. And I've read books, I've watched lots of the videos.
Gave me that advice, and it was really good advice. Once I started doing that, everything just worked out really well for me.
So that's something I'm going to try the next time, because I've always felt like it's weird. That's a transition. It's really hard.
It is a weird transition, because if you've never been to a comedy show, which some people haven't, or even an open mic, you might be like, I get the sense that some people in the audience are like, oh, this guy is he telling jokes? Is he not going to tell jokes?
Yeah.
What's his role? Is he just starting the show and now he's going to bring up the headliner now?
Yeah.
They don't know that it's, hey, I'm the opener. Oh, by the way, we also have a feature, and then we'll get to your headliner.
Yeah,
so you have to kind of think of it from the audience standpoint too. It's like people that have never been to a comedy show, because you do get those people a lot, or maybe they just go to a show once every.
I always wonder who the fuck these people are that come to these open mics. I never, until I wanted to do comedy, I never went to an open mic.
You guys really want to listen to this shit?
Yeah. I'm so happy and grateful for them, but god damn, I never went to like an open mic. Like if it wasn't a show that I was paying for, like a name I knew. So I was like, these people are.
I went to an open mic at the Funny Bone before I started doing comedy, just to get an idea.
Oh yeah, that's when I started to go. But before I was ever thought about doing comedy, I never went to an open mic.
And this is probably the case with most people that go to an open mic, because you see the good, the bad, and the ugly. I remember I went and watched them. I was like, oh, I could probably do this shit. Because I saw some horrible people that, which you will see at an open mic, almost undoubtedly. Mm-hmm. So you see those. I'm like, okay. Well,
I'm one of those horrible people. At least once a month when I'm trying. Like they usually try to one word up. Like it's usually I do it at the Wing It Wednesdays. The crowd's a little smaller there, so it hasn't gotten too popular. I try all new stuff, like because that's something Ralphie May said to do. You wrote 5 minutes for your very first time going on. Now do that once a month. He says, and if you do that, you may get 1 or 2 jokes out of that, just like you did your first open mic. He's like, and after 12 months, you may have a good another, tight 10 or so out of that.
I was gonna say, out of that, a year later, you've written 60, and then if you're lucky, you're probably gonna have a good solid 15 out of that 60. It could be 10, but 10 to 15. But
his idea,
even that though, you're like, oh man, shit, I just got this brand new 10 minutes.
Yeah. What he even did, his was do a new one every week, because he was out in LA and they're able to hit so many open mics. He said one of your mics should be brand new material, all of it. No, nothing used, all brand new. And he said, you do that every week that you're able to, you do that mic. And he said 52 weeks. He said you get 1 good joke each one of those. That's 52 jokes, and he breaks it all down to the numbers.
I mean, really, if you break it down, so you write 5 minutes a week of stuff that you take on stage, and maybe you have a joke that's a minute long that hits. Then you're like, oh, I'm gonna keep doing that one. Just tweak this. Do that 52 weeks. Now you got 52 minutes of material after you do. Now you can. And maybe you get rid of some of that, but you're still going to have like 40 to 45 minutes that you can.
And that's how he says. That's how you're getting.
Easier said than done. Yeah. You can sit here and break down the numbers, but man.
If we had that many open mics to go to, and there right before COVID, I was getting a good 6-7 mics in a week there, because I could do the apotheosis one, and then I could jump over. And I think I was like 3 that week. Sometimes like a bucket night was the very end, last one because it started so late. Yeah, that night. Yeah, I was having good luck. I hope it comes back. Like the Heavy Anchor, I loved that fucking open mic.
Yeah, I used to go to that just here and there because I think that was the farthest drive for me, believe it or not, because I was like, I think it was just the route, like it's kind of down like South Gravelly or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like for me, it took me like 40 or 45 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't think, but it's like, okay, I got to drive there 45 minutes, and then it doesn't start till 10 o'clock was the other thing. And then by the time I'm getting done with my set, it's already like 11:30.
Oh, yeah, that bitch will run until
and
1
then
in the morning, too.
So I just, like, the times I went to it, it's just like, you know, I go to bed super late, and then I got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever. It's like, so I just got, and it's on a Monday, so I just got tired of doing that. But,
yeah. So what do you got coming up? I know you said you got some shows, a couple of them.
Yeah, I got, I'll mention 3 things. I'll be at Backdoor Comedy April 9th and 10th with Jeremy Nunez and Johnny Kavanaugh. So I'll be emceeing that weekend.
Bring the kids. No.
And then May 7th and 8th, I'll also be back at Backdoor Comedy featuring for Tim Northern, and Andrew Gaffigan is hosting that weekend.
Okay, yeah, I just had him on. He was telling me about that.
And the weekend after that, I'll be in Troy, Missouri for we're doing the Troy Elks Lodge show. So I don't know if you have any listeners in Lincoln County or in that region, but
Joe the Animal and his friends. So yeah.
But yeah, this is the 4th year I've done that show. I have to say, like, so I grew up in Troy, Missouri, so I may be a little biased, but that's been the most fun show like every single year that I've done.
Yeah.
So this is year number 4, and hopefully it'll be a blast again. So we're kind of still working out all the details on that, but that'll be, man, it's gonna be nice doing back-to-back weekends of comedy for once.
Yeah,
like it's been a while, so I get to be at the club, do, you know, I don't know if we're doing 2 or 3 shows that weekend, but at least 2.
Pretty sure you'll be doing 3. I think that's what I seen the list for.
Okay. I wasn't sure if he was doing 1 on Saturday or 2, but 3 shows, and then do the next weekend and have fun and get paid and hang out.
Oh yeah, all right. Then you're gonna LLC and open up an account and start stacking that money.
Well, man, like I said, I'm gonna make some business cards, and we'll see. To be honest with you, I've never really wanted to get too deep into like booking shows because I just want to work. I'd rather get booked and just go do other people's stuff. Because it does take some time to book it, work out like the details with the venue, and
I know. I don't
you
know.
have to market it, and
I don't know how Jason Nelson's got 7 events just in this next month coming up that he's got prepared, and he's already done 3 this month.
Yeah,
it's like, how the fuck are you planning all these and just keeping? He's like, I just stay busy. Like, keep at it, man.
Great for him, and great for guys like Chris Sierra. Is booking stuff here
he does the impolite thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that an actual dark comedy, like, or is it just the name of it?
No, it's just the name of it.
Okay, as I say, because that's my shit right there. I'd love to come do some impolite, inappropriate comedy.
Me personally, I just like to maybe book something once a month at either an Elks Lodge or Rendezvous Cafe, my O'Fallon Out Loud show, and I don't think I have the time to do it every single week, and
it's hard. As a working man,
there's a lot of stress that comes with stuff like that because you're like, oh, okay, I want to book the right lineup. I want to make sure, you know, okay, how much tickets gonna be? Where can you get tickets? And there's just like maybe a lot of details that people don't think about. And for me, if my name's on the show, like, hey, this show is put on by Andy Hamilton, then I want it to be like a badass show.
I'm the same way.
Like, I don't want any show. It's hard to be, 100% of your shows are going to go the way you want it to, but
if you're going to try to do everything to avoid any,
But yeah, I try to do everything I can to make it the best show possible, where people are like, man, we want to come back to this next year, or so you book, what else do you book?
Yeah.
Then I can hand them a card and be like, hey, I do private, do birthday parties and do everything else.
Oh yeah.
interested, hit me up.
I think you could just
we'll
buy
talk about a price.
My printer does cards. You can just buy one of those. I thought, I spent under $100 on that printer, and you can make business cards with
maybe
that.
Maybe I could. I was gonna go order them on Vistaprint or something. But.
Yeah, I looked at all that. I was like, because I wanted to do flyers too. I was gonna do flyers for my show at Bobby's Place that I had going on.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that to come back
I
around.
just got to the point. I never really thought about doing it until like 4 or 5 people were like, "Oh wait, yeah, this is a good show. Do you have a? So you book other stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Do you have a card?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
I just felt like an idiot. Like, oh.
Well,
like,
you'll have a card
like,
soon.
Yeah. So I'm like, fuck. I was like, I should probably just go ahead and get a card and maybe just. I'm sure I'm not gonna be handing them out every weekend, but still just keep them on me.
Yeah, when you're doing shows, you should definitely have them. What is your socials like? How do they get a hold of you other than not having a card?
I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. Andy Hamilton Comedy on Instagram. If your listeners want to look me up.
That's Instagram's a big one that I just haven't. I'm still working on the YouTube algorithm. I'm just now getting certain videos to hit into the thousands of views. So now I'm like, but people are like Instagram. I'm like,
views, pretty good.
Yeah, especially with the short clips. They're using they're in beta mode or testing or whatever it's called with short clips.
Yeah.
It's to basically compete with TikTok, YouTube's version of TikTok. And if you go on YouTube, you'll see like there's this section of videos that are just short videos, and you can scroll that way instead of up and down.
Yeah.
And
I'm still getting better at like I've only had my Instagram for a year and a half, which I feel like everybody else has been on Instagram for like 8 years.
Right. I just got one too.
Yeah. So I got one because I started mine in I want to say like October of 2019 maybe. So yeah, like a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to post more like now. Like it took me a while. Like okay, now you can like post these stories and
I'm trying to.
That sounds stupid.
No, I've tried to figure out the Facebook algorithm shit and all that. That's why I've got Zach Spilo, this new comedian. He's only been doing it for a couple weeks.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah,
a couple times.
Yeah, we did an open mic at Ophir, and Rod Lyles was hosting it and was like, "We're gonna bring back booing." If you suck, we're gonna boo you. And Ronaldo roasted him though for it because Ronaldo came up and was like, "I think it's funny you said it's okay to boo after your trash ass set." He's like, "I see you're wearing a camouflage. What are you hiding from? A successful career in comedy?" And just roasted the fuck out of him for like 2 minutes, and then he fell off. He's like, "I'm tapering here. I don't have nothing else in the tank." And it was really great. But I felt so bad for Zach. I was like, man, he's only been doing it. He's really interested in comedy and shit. So I was like, I'm gonna have him come on the podcast. And then he started talking to me about he's interning for some place in New York, some social media platform.
Oh, that's cool.
And he was talking to me about all the algorithm shit and how to set up and title your stuff and how to get picked up by the algorithm. I was like, why don't you just come on the podcast? Let me get this shit on recording.
Man, I've tried to watch videos on that stuff. I don't get it. I'm trying to use all the hashtags and stuff, but I'm getting better at Instagram, and hopefully, like, I'm starting to get just a few more followers. Like, I got like 200 followers now.
I think you beat me. You're beating me. I think my mind right now is I'm trying to get the ratio of more followers than following. But
man, honestly, I think the key is just keep posting stuff. Like if you can post stuff every day, like naturally you're gonna get more people just stumble upon your material.
It's like Twitter, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Do you have a Twitter?
No.
Me neither. Well, I do, but I haven't used it. It's been inactive.
So far, I've stayed away from Twitter and TikTok just because, like...
I think they're toxic. I think Twitter is...
Yeah,
I don't understand it, and I just see too many people getting emotional. I see it on news too much. And Twitter, did you hear what they said on Twitter? Like, why are they talking about Twitter on the news?
Man, it's just like...
What can you say in 18 letters or words that's really that offensive? I spend
enough time on Facebook and Instagram. It's like I don't need another social media.
I didn't have it until Mike at the back door opened up and required you to sign up through Facebook.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was Facebook free for years. Yeah. And then he did that, and I was like, and then somebody was like, "You trying to do comedy without social media?"
It's like impossible.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps telling me to get on TikTok. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can get more make goofy videos and get more followers and this and that. It's like I just don't want to do
Yeah,
it.
I've been told in my comedy, they're like,
It's
your
not really my
one-liners
style.
will kill TikTok.
I don't make goofy videos.
Yeah,
It's just not me.
I've got some sketches me and Mike Ratcliffe have been working on. We're doing one for the Wall Street Bets whole thing that happened with like the guys that did the
like
Reddit thing. Yeah, how they did that. We were like, now they're the millionaire elite. We're gonna basically do a video to where they're like telling the poor people to pull themselves up from their bootstraps now. You know how they became rich, basically one of that. And I just came up with another one to where a famous actor, you know these actors that get into like role playing and they really get into it. They have to like be that person through that role. Like Heath Ledger was one of them. Yeah. What if he was a podcaster and every movie came up to where he's podcasting as Batman, and then like his next role is fucking something else. And then he has to play that role, each character. So I don't know. It's
Sounds
just Adam Thatcher had one of the most hilarious ones I've heard so far. He's talking about selling. Yeah. He's coming back.
Are you friends with him?
Yeah, okay. He's pretty. We're not like, we don't talk every day, but he was talking about selling. And he wants to do a sketch where it's an advertisement for Scotch tape, peach Scotch tape, but talking about his circumcision, like being circumcised too much. Okay. And I was like, the whole thing with that, I was like, there's something there. And then I want to do another one with Kuvar, to where he's stumbling around looking, and he finds this little glasses cases and sits down, puts on his glasses, and turns on an audio book.
All right.
Yeah, just stupid stuff. But I don't know. I'm waiting on the camera equipment that I want to get.
I think we gotta. I guess that's my goal. Now that comedy's picking up, is just start posting more stuff. Yeah. And that's why. I had a. It's not like I didn't have a tripod. I had one. I just never took it out. Like, bought one off Amazon, and I'd take it out with me like once a month. Like, I need to carry this to every open mic and every show I go to, and just keep recording and
I'm gonna get
find something in there. Just post a clip or a picture or a clip or a story or whatever. Yeah. Just keep posting more stuff. I don't want to do it every day, but I should be doing it at least once or twice a week. I figure
when it comes to the media, to get the followers, unless you just get big real quick with something, you become for some reason hilarious.
Get on Netflix or something.
Yeah, but I appreciate you coming on, Andy. It's getting late. I'm sure you're getting hungry. I know my wife is now that I hear her up, and you don't want to leave women hungry. Like, I think that we should test women genetically or like something with the brain, and when they get hungry. Because every man I've ever talked to is like, don't let a woman get hungry. And they'll tell you, they'll be like, they change. Something changes in a woman when they're hungry.
Keep them fed, keep them happy.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. And I'll be seeing you at the back door because I'll probably be at that show that comes on. I'm going to try to stay going up there more. Because Thursday nights I can do that. I mean, not Thursday nights, but the weekends and stuff, I can make that. I can do that. I like the back door. I like Mike. I like the people up there.
Good people.
Yeah, and the prices are good, and their food's good. So that's why if I can get dinner and tell the wife, hey, we're going out to dinner and watching a comedy show, and getting her to go to the Funny Bone isn't so easy because they don't have food there and everything. So
food, drinks, and comedy.
Yeah, the Helium is back up, I believe. Is there food back up too? Have you done anything for them? I should have asked Marquise last night when he was here.
I went and watched a show there with Jimmy Day and Nathan Orton were on the show. I'm pretty sure I saw food there. Yeah. I think
Nate Norton's still in town, right? Because he's supposed to come on here while he was in town. I let him and his boy use everything to record their podcast when they were in town. Yeah, I was like, just come back and jump on mine once mine's up and going. And I haven't been able to get a hold of them because they're so busy. Everybody talks about Nate Orton as far as different tips they've gotten from somebody or somebody that's really great in comedy.
To me, I mean, he's in New York now. That's kind of his home base, but he's back here. But I mean, when he was here full time, he was the hardest worker in the St. Louis scene, in my opinion. Yeah. So.
Yeah, him and Reggie both coming from New York, and I see what they do. It makes me like, maybe I should go to New York for a little, really go through but I don't like New York. I mean, I don't have nothing against it. I hear Texas and it sounds a lot more fun. I hear Texas is the spot. Austin, Texas is going to be the new LA for comedy.
I hope so. Warmer weather.
Yeah. But right on. Appreciate it.